Jorge, I'm not a great singer, but just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Pretty atrocious. I know that is.
No, it was good. It was good.
Thanks. Yeah, carryover from never really, but good morning, one and all.
Good morning.
Sorry, I'm supposed to go straight to soft intro, lighten the mood with singing.
It worked. I feel great.
Established introduction. This is the Fantasy and Frames pregame show, brought to you by Fantasy and Frames. This is week 8. Jorge Edwards, Nate Marcum, bringing you all the news and notes, fantasy focus, and flex type scenarios to go along with your start and sit questions of the week. Jorge Edwards, I know you were masquerading last night as a party goer, and today you're masquerading as a fantasy analyst.
I know, right? I should wear a mask, or maybe this is my mask. Who knows?
We joked earlier. Last week would have been a good time to wear said mask. You might have saved some shade on.
Yeah, it was. It got pretty. It got pretty bad towards the end of the show too. It's like I've been waiting for what was it? Somebody to come off of IR, and it's like, nope, you meant Jalen Coker. That's it. I'm like, God damn it! All right, fine.
That is true, and that just goes to show you. I can't remember who it even was. I could have told you 5 minutes after the show last week because it was funny and we were all, having a good time. But as with many of our takes, they completely, wipe away like that because, well, shit happens, brother. That's the way it is. That's the biggest fear, if you want to call it, I have every time that I do any of these shows or any of the serious shows or any of the ones where people are listening, that I go, just don't make an ass of yourself. And you did not make an ass of yourself. I was wrong.
Well, no, you're right. I mean, thank you. You're lying, but thank you. Because I know I made an ass out of myself, and I made sure, and I was telling you before we went on air, I have like every single depth chart tab open, which my computer will probably crash, and if it does, it's because it's the plethora of depth charts I have open. And it'll be because I will make sure I will not mess up who is on what team this week like an idiot. Speaking of an idiot, this guy is not one. What's up, Jonathan?
Yeah, I was wondering where that
I was gonna say, I bet you didn't know where that was going, did you?
I didn't like it.
Well, he's not an idiot. He's one of the smartest people I know. So
it's very kind. Wrong, but very kind.
That's okay. How are things? All good?
Yeah, very cold and rainy here in Scotland, which is obviously very unusual.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I had a fun time in London last week. Going to the Rams Jags game, which wasn't a great game, I'll be honest, but it was still good fun. I was there with a couple of my friends from my main home league, which was good fun to like watch the game with them and root for particular players who I had Jordan Whittington on my team, so it was fun. It wasn't fun to kind of watch that in person.
I will take a giant L on that one from last week because I was all systems go for there's no way Jordan Whittington can't provide insert value.
But yeah, no, it was still good fun. And now I think like everyone, I'm going through all my teams being like, are they healthy? Are they going to see more than about 2 targets? Cool, you're starting.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Did they ride on the bus? That's it. The bus check. Are they on the bus to the game? Good enough for me. Bus ticket equals lineup. It's a perfect segue to the unfortunate news and beginning of the entire show is that we get to go through some news and notes and do our fantasy who the hell is healthy checklist. Nobody's healthy. On to the next one.
Nope,
So
exactly.
it's a wasteland out there,
It
guys.
is.
And, Jonathan, Lamar Jackson teases us with his return. Realistically, though, you're a Lamar Jackson owner. This is good news because he doesn't rush back and you have him for the rest of the season. Bad news because your team has relied heavily on his involvement and you've been starting players like Mac Jones, Aaron Rodgers, insert terrible name, or it's week 8. I need a win. I don't know the answer because an unhealthy Lamar Jackson might not be much more valuable than a replacement player, whoever that may be.
Yeah, the annoying thing is that obviously given where you've drafted him is you've drafted him rounds 2, 3, 4-ish. So it's a big investment into a player like that. And the worry is that how much of this is actually more of a team thing about what the Ravens want to do this year, and they're looking at their record right now, and if they were looking at it being you know what, we can scrape into the playoffs, we can, if we really go for this, we can maybe do something towards the end of the season, and then who knows.
Yeah,
Worry is that they're coming off the back of a bye as well, are they not? This is
right.
He's had time to get healthy. Typically, if I see a good starting quarterback has been limited in training, my thought is always well, they're likely going to start because
Correct.
of the extra amount that gives you to win the game. A limited Lamar Jackson is miles better than Snoop Huntley, and gives you, even if Lamar is limited in the amount of rushes that he can give you, he's still much better with the ball in his hands, and him as a passer, he's still a great passer, even if his movement is a little bit more limited. So that's my bigger picture worry about this, is what it actually means further down the road for Lamar Jackson, for the rest of the season.
It makes you wonder a little bit about, is it gamesmanship? You hope that it's not. You hope that the team itself is not using this as hey, we're not in it, no need to risk it. Dynasty Lamar Jackson managers probably go, I'd rather him stay healthy. And in the grand scheme of things for the Ravens, it's, if you're not 100% and there's a viable chance for re-injury, it is a wise, but don't tease with the limited scope. Jorge, you were saying?
No, so it's funny you guys brought this up, because somebody in one of my in one of the Dynasty leagues I'm in, you guys know Tyler Heil, he invited me in there, and one of the managers sent me a trade offer yesterday, and he said he wanted Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and he would give me Jordan Love and Travion Henderson. And this is before the news came out that Lamar Jackson was going to be declared out this week. And so, assuming that trade is still on the table, this is a perfect situation of desperation, right? If you are in it, you're in the mix of the playoff hunt. Do you just say, man, I need a quarterback, I need a good quarterback, and Derrick Henry for dynasty purposes is on the decline. Lamar Jackson, how have we reached his ceiling yet? Have we peaking, or is there still room to grow? But you need the wins now. So I'm still. That's a tough one.
I'll say it is from a twofold type scenario. And that is that you do obviously you gain an advantage at the quarterback position by having a healthy Jordan Love. Right. Getting Christian Watson back, of course, everything is positive. Jonathan, I'm sure you're happy for that. On the flip side, of course, Derrick Henry is trending in my opinion, my take is that now is the time when you can acquire Derrick Henry to do so for teams that are in the hunt as we approach wintertime. And as I thought, Lamar Jackson would be returning. Travion Henderson is the intriguing part of that entire trade, because obviously right now there's no value for this year. We hope there is at some point. We're waiting. I think that's what I was saying with Bob and some of the guys last Thursday, is that's what we're collectively waiting to do from the fantasy community, is that the mass dropping of Travion Henderson is what Mike Vrabel's waiting to see. He's checking the Yahoo drops and ads and CBS. And as soon as it gets above about 10,000, Travion gets 15 carries, because that's exactly how NFL teams are ran based on the effect of the fantasy landscape.
So Jamie's
based on his league, like he didn't get in.
Yeah.
So he's trying to drive the value down to the point where the manager in his league drops him. And as soon as that happens, 25 touches.
Somewhere Chauncey Billups is immensely jealous of the savviness of Mike Vrabel. Yes.
Did you believe that when that news came out? I'm watching this and like, Chauncey Billups arrested? Jesus Christ.
If you get a chance, for anybody, and Jamie, I know we'll get to your comments to chat about that, but if anybody hasn't watched the video of how that table in the poker game works, I know there's technology. And I know that there's ways to cheat. And I know that I'm not privy to a lot of the information that's out there as far as what it can do. But these tables that can basically just read the cards and tell people who has what and who's going to win is terrifying to think that this is technology that didn't come out 3 days ago and they just immediately started using it. That how long has this been out and who's using it and to what degree, like, if you're betting at Vegas, you're playing against other people at the table. You're not playing against the house per se. So I'm not worried about Vegas having that technology to burn you, but yowzers. No. I don't know. So go ahead. Jamie was saying.
Yep. So, first you said good morning, and we got Albert in the chat. What's up, Albert?
Good morning, Albert.
So Jamie said he just made a trade today. He gave up Joe Flacco in a late third for a second. He says, goes on to say, I didn't need Flacco because I have Mahomes and Dak in both week 10 bye, and Flacco was also a week 10 bye. So
that's to get anything. I mean, wow, I think that's fantastic. And I'm the worst person to evaluate dynasty trade assets because I just don't. It's just one part of my brain that doesn't really always see empirical value as much as the dynasty guys. But to get anything for a person you're never going to play
after this season,
even this season, when's he going to play him? Was he
Flacco?
playing Joe Flacco over Mahomes and Dak?
Oh, that's a fair. Yeah. That's a good point. Sorry about that. Yeah. No, I mean, to get a second, that is really high draft capital. So that was an excellent move by you, Jamie. Good job.
I'd say it's listening to this show every Sunday. It really does it for you. But
and all the rest of our shows. I mean, we got a lot of shows here at Fantasy and Frames, so it works out nicely.
I talk with blinders on. I focus only on Jonathan, myself, and you for right now. Everything else is irrelevant. That's not true, of course, because everybody in the chat is part of the entire Fantasy in Frames family. Every time, from our listener leagues all the way through just getting to see each other at the expo and just having some chats. And staying with the quarterback theme for the walking wounded list, Brock Purdy again this week. I don't think that's anybody is shocked by that. He said that the turf toe that he's suffering, if he wants to call it turf, one person says turf toe, the next person calls it a ligament tear on the bottom of the first metatarsal, which I guess is turf toe if you break it down, whatever the scenario is. But Brock Purdy impact, we've seen Mac Jones in place, so I don't think there's going to be any massive change this week from what we came in with expectations. But in Atlanta, there could be, because Michael Penix, game time decision, most likely not going to start. Drake London is a game time decision. They're going to check that hip out, and it looks like old Kirk Cousins is going to come back in and make another start. We're going to get to the fantasy flex options, guys, and a little bit later on. And I specifically put Kirk Cousins into that fold because I want to hear what some people's opinions. I mean, we're talking if you're, of course, you're not Jamie. You're not sitting there with Mahomes and Dak and looking at, Kirk Cousins or anybody else, but the Lamar Jackson manager who maybe had picked up Michael Penix in a pinch or looks at, well, a little foreshadowing. Maybe they look at a person like an Aaron Jones or an Aaron Rodgers on the waivers and go, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that point right there. The question I'd have, Jonathan, is that do you think if London's out, if Cousins is in, is Darnell Mooney someone who finally healthy moves up a little bit into your starting spot, or is that I still don't love it?
I don't love it, but I'm also having to remind myself of there are like a million teams on bye and a million injuries, so it's someone that maybe, but I fear that it will just end up being. I mean, we've seen what what Atlanta kind of wants to do this year and kind of slowing the game down, really relying on the run game, and it may just be a really heavy Bijan Tyler Algier game. And I mean, we've seen how Cousins as sort of as he's got older, the average depth of target has come down, and Mooney is a guy that has relied on a lot of big plays. So I would probably be more excited about someone like Kyle Pitts, I think, and kind of a lot of dump offs to Bijan rather than Mooney.
So Jorge, that was a perfect segue from Jonathan into another scenario in Atlanta that kind of is intriguing is if Drake London is out, if it is Kirk Cousins, does the focus more on the running game mean Tyler Algier, who you briefly mentioned, Jonathan, is now someone that is firmly into that flex consideration role?
Sure. I mean, you got to compensate, for what you're missing there. But and I'll circle back around to that in a second. But going back to Mooney, I actually am really excited if I'm a Darnell Mooney manager. You go back to last season with Kirk Cousins out of the first 13 games played on the season in half PPR, so not even in full PPR, but in half PPR. Darnell Mooney had double-digit fantasy points, and so he was pretty much a weekly flex option for fantasy managers with Kirk Cousins. Assuming that Kirk Cousins' arm has not been, torn off and then surgically reattached in the span of a calendar year, then I would hope that he has some, some slinging in him to get the ball out, so the target volume is there. I do like the talk of Kyle Pitts, though. We've seen him kind of come on in terms of target volume and receptions the past few weeks. But as far as Algier goes, man, his usage is getting pretty interesting here over the past few weeks, and so it makes me wonder whether or not this is a situation. Going back to last week, let me pull that up real quick. One second. We go back to. Last week we saw the snap percentages. Well, the snaps per game. You know what? I'm going to take that back. I don't think I'm playing I don't think I'm doing Tyler Algier. If I had to flex either Algier or Mooney, it'd be Mooney. We look at the snap percentages last week, week 7. Bijan 87.7%, Algier 23%. So I don't think I'm going to be hitching my wagon to somebody who's only getting me 23% of a snap share in this backfield.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how the game script is one that if you told me either one of the pieces, if it was Penix or London or maybe a combination of both, I would say they were going to lead this game and it was going to be out of control by halftime, and then it could turn into a Tyler Algier game. The question then is, can Atlanta actually get that lead? And don't get me wrong, their defense has been spectacular. I do expect them to stay in the game and have the lead and become a running scenario, but maybe not something.
They are playing Miami as well. This
correct,
is
exactly, yeah. And that's the crux of it. And so Jamie did say he bet a Kyle Pitts touchdown and Bijan over 80 rush yards and 50 receiving yards. I like that bet. I mean, the Pitts anytime touchdown is always one that's the trickiest of the two, if you ask me. But Bijan has the only reason he might not get 80 and 50 is, like we've said, if they happen to just get up by 20 and he doesn't break off any significant run, and at halftime they decide that, work Algier more into it. But I don't see Atlanta doing that. I think that this is we're going to feed Bijan this season. We're not going to rest him. There's not that much of a need. So I like it. I'll let you guys answer this one from Jamie, though, at quarterback, because he's already started Herbert. Had a great week on Thursday. 3 touchdowns, probably 25 fantasy points. Superflex is number 2 between Drake May, Bo Nix, Justin Fields. Jorge, I'll start with you with the question to answer how you would approach it, and then give me your answer, and then Jonathan do the same. You have 26 of the Superflex spot. Are you shooting again for ceiling between the 3, or are you going safety floor between the 3?
I think you can find both with Bo Nix this week against Dallas, who's giving up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. That is the smashest of smashest plays here at the quarterback position. Even if it was in a 1 quarterback league, you're rolling Bo Nix with confidence at the floor and the ceiling. And the super flex, when you already had Herbert and what he did, like just more Mortal Kombat style, finish him. Put in Bo Nix and just end this right away.
Jonathan, I'm assuming by the head nod, you and I both are in agreement with him. It's Bo Nix.
Yeah, absolutely. He's like, I love May, but that matchup is brilliant, and we've seen Nix kind of running a good amount last few weeks. I mean, last week was obviously just like a ridiculous game, but yeah, it's a great matchup. So, yeah,
nice.
Easy pick there for me as well.
We'll jump over to Chivalry King. Good morning. Welcome to the chat. Thank you for the question here. Guys, needs to pick 2. It's a standard league. Jorge, rejoice. Standard league. Breece Hall, Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle. You're picking 2. Give me 1, Jorge.
I still think you go Dowdle. I think Dowdle is still somebody that, even with
every other carry with
exactly, with Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, just Dowdle has worked his way into this lineup. I really wanted to say Breece Hall, because I think Breece Hall really does have a really good matchup this week. But it's hard for me, especially being somebody who has on one of his leagues, every week checks like, okay, so-and-so, this many points, so-and-so, and it's like, you're like, good. Breece Hall, this few points, shit, and it shouldn't be that way, but I think it is that way. And if the rumors are true that he's going to be moving before the trade deadline, is this a situation where they showcase or they protect their asset? But the matchup is really good. And Chase Brown, we saw he did the last game he played. I think the Bengals finally turned it around. So I'd go Dowdle and Brown in this situation.
Jonathan?
I think I'm doing the same thing as well. Mainly because, I mean, obviously Hall and Brown are playing each other in that
right.
matchup, and I think, I'm more confident that there's going to be a positive game script for Chase Brown than I am for Breece Hall. And I mean, I'm probably, and neither of them have really scored many touchdowns this year, but I think I'm more confident that Brown would be scoring a touchdown rather than Hall, which is obviously in a standard league is a much sort of bigger part of this. And then with Dowdle, I think, given how well he has played over the last few weeks, I think it's only a matter of time before we see his workload increase over Hubbard. Like we saw last week, he was just more efficient with the ball in his hands. I think it's only a matter of time before he kind of sees more and more work in that backfield.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna say, not to throw a wrench into the old cogs or anything, but I'm still leaning Breece Hall, just volume sake alone. If the offense, I mean, when you have to play the every other role with Dowdle and Chuba, and that's something we can discuss too about that game is last week the blueprint for what's going to happen going forward. If it's an every other rotation or every other drive, you run into the risk that the hot hand doesn't even matter. And if Dowdle does get a hot hand and he loses the next set, then you're playing in the, well, does the first snap from that drive result in a false start? Are we playing from behind every time Dowdle, and is it different with Chuba? It's hard to pass up on Dowdle because of what he's done previously, because the skill set's there and the abilities there. We've seen it on display. But I'd probably start Hall and Brown. Hate them. They're both in the same game, but I also don't think either defense is truly going to completely shut out. I mean, the Bengals allow the 6th most rushing yards. They're pretty bad against the run, or not pretty bad. They're really bad against the run. So that's my 2 right there. But Jorge, let's go to Roscoe, who has a IDP question for you because it needs a defensive line streamer.
Ooh, I love it. So sorry, that's my bad. You told me last week, don't press the buttons. I won't press the buttons. So it's funny, Roscoe. First of all, thank you very much for the question. I wrote about both of these guys in the IDP waiver wire article over at fantasyandframes.com. I love both. The one that is really sticking out to me here, however, is Alex Wright. You know, one of the things we look at for fantasy football is, you know, especially for defensive linemen, is like it's very hard from week to week, much like it is with touchdowns on the offensive side of the ball, to kind of predict sacks. You know, we can predict pressures. We can anticipate what pressures are going to look like given the offensive lineman matchups. But one of the things I like to look at here for establishing a floor for fantasy managers is the tackle volume. And you look at the tackles that help establish that floor. Alex Wright has been coming on strong the past few weeks when it comes to tackle numbers. And so you already have the fantasy floor there. You throw in if he gets to the situation where he has a sack, that's going to raise your floor. Conversely, though, Chason, playing opposite Harold Landry last week, had 3 total tackles, 2 TFLs, a sack, 2 quarterback hits, and a fumble recovery, a touchdown. Like he had, a game as the DL1 in Fantasy Pro scoring with 26.8 points. I get it, but that was a lot of things going right for him to finish as the DL1. I want the more stable tackle floor with Alex Wright in the situation.
Thank you, Roscoe, for the question, though. And as Jamie said, he actually got 38 from Herbert in that league. So, again, it doesn't change my opinion, but it changes my outlook on just how awesome that week was from Herbert in that specific league. So, even better. So, Chivalry King said he did plan on starting Breece Hall until they announced Fields was starting. I understand that. It is tough. I still think Fields can give them a better opportunity to at least keep drives alive and maybe put them in a better position. I like Fields as a streamable quarterback this week against Cincinnati. I don't know if I love him because you want to talk about boomer bust, but kind of boomer bust going into that is Jamie has a question about the Houston Texans wide receiver core, which is Jaden Higgins or Jalen Noel this week. Jonathan, let's start with you on this week, and then we'll discuss the dynasty implications.
So yeah, Jalen Noel was actually someone that I wrote about in my Pipe Trends article this week. It's tough because it's not necessarily an offense that we're like really excited about, and like we kind of see this like huge opportunity for loads of points, but but there are clear opportunities for someone, and I think that person is going to be, it should be Jalen Noel. I think given the usage that we've seen so far, he had around 15% target share last week, turned that into 77 yards. I think that there's a good there's a good opportunity for kind of a low end flex there. Dynasty, I think given the early usage, I think I'd prefer Noel over Higgins. But it is one of those really difficult scenarios where we're 8 weeks into the start of their career, so this could very easily flip kind of a few weeks down the line. But I think given that their only other sort of clear choice in the slot is going to be Kerr, I think that there's a clearer role kind of going forward after this year for someone like Noel to step in, where obviously they've got Nico Collins is a sort of their sort of primary target on the outside. So yeah, I think that's where I'd go at the moment.
It's definitely a clearer path to significant playing time and snaps, and that's the one thing, Jorge, I think you'll agree, is that with an offensive line as porous as the Houston Texans offensive line is, pathway to significant target percentage out of the slot is much more likely than a less than like we even seen Nico take a step back just because the time, and he's probably one of the most dominant X receivers, maybe one of the few true X receivers in the league. And so, yeah, I'm right there with you. And Jalen Noel, luckily, I do have him in a few leagues there. Jorge, do you have anything to add to that or move on?
No, I mean, you guys brought up the great points there. And what you were saying there, Nate, as far as the offensive line giving him enough time to actually Stroud, that is, to set up and do his drops and to get the long ball to, it makes more sense for the short to intermediate. So both him, Noel, and then Kyle Ziegler, who's on with you at Fourth and Frames, he was also really big on Dalton Schultz at the tight end position this week as a play for him. So both of those guys, I think, could have beneficial outcomes this week.
Absolutely. Yeah. Dalton Schultz, fantastic play and fantastic plug for the Wednesday night Fourth and Frame show, 10 p.m. Eastern. Catch Drew, Rhett, myself, Kyle, Aiden. Anybody else that wants to ever jump on, let us know. We'd, at least in the chat, I see all the same names and familiar faces. Another familiar face name and family member is Charlene. Charlene, good morning. I know it is 7-ish there. Probably 6:40.
6:40.
Up and early with us as always, but that's what family does. Actually, that's not what family does. I would not get up for my family. I would do it for friends. Family, I'd tell you should know better. What's wrong with you? Ezekiel Ruiz, good morning. Has a question for us. Should I roll with Tampa or the 49ers defense?
Oh, it's Tampa. I know Hassan Reddick is out for this game, but the 49ers, I mean, Bryce Huff, I believe, is dealing with a hamstring injury, and he was trending towards not playing. So now you're trusting Michael Williams as your primary edge rusher, the rookie, who hasn't done enough for me in the snaps category and the productivity category. Granted, he's a rookie. He's getting acclimated. These are all things, but that's not the risk I'm trying to take right now. I want a defense that I know from, Yaya Diaby in the front in Vita Vea, who's not really great for fantasy, but in terms of like defense overall, then you got Savassi Dennis, you got Levante David, then you got Tyke Smith, Antoine Winfield in the backfield. Give me that solidified core for Tampa over for the 49ers this week.
There you go. And from one Zeke to the father of Zeke.
1 second. Let me get this open, and there we go. Boom.
Yo, what's going on, fellas?
Dave, you live streaming from underwater? That's better, actually.
A little bit, yeah. I just came up for air.
Well, that sounds about like week 8 in a nutshell, coming up for air to only find out that someone on the fantasy injury, I don't even know the right phrasing, is going to put their foot on your head and push you back underwater, because we've only briefly touched the surface of the injuries so far throughout the landscape, and we touched on Lamar and Purdy and now Michael Penix. But Dave, welcome in. We were talking about Houston. One of the players out is Nico Collins. We had a question earlier, Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins. I know it doesn't necessarily directly affect the running back scenario there, but I guess it does. do you have a side? Are you picking sides yet on the Woody Marks, young and fresh, or are you saying, you know what, I don't trust it, I don't like this 50-50 or at least this back and forth, I'm still sticking with Nick Chubb? Do you have a preference?
It's give me the Woody. I'm all about the Woody, but it's
There we go. Sounds about right.
but look, here's the thing: it's a bad offense. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Bad offense with Higgins is their number one receiver right now. I mean, let's be honest, it's probably Dalton Schultz is their number one receiver. Are we really expecting them to be pounding the rock? Probably not. They're going to be playing from behind. Maybe Woody Marks catches a few balls out of the backfield, but I'm not going in there expecting big production from Woody Marks. I think we're going to get 10 rushes for 40 yards, maybe a couple of catches. Garbage time is really what you're hoping for, to be honest. I mean, if we're being frank here, we're expecting Houston to get absolutely, demolished. So if they're off to a 3-touchdown deficit, they're probably going to be putting not even Nick Chubb. Who's the third string running back there?
Daria Gumbawale, maybe?
I mean, that's what we typically see when teams get blown out. So that's a very risky play. Look, we see it on good players on bad offenses. Saquon Barkley is a perfect example. We've seen him struggle in New York for so many years, goes to the Eagles, does well, right? I mean, it's the reason why Breece Hall is not doing that well. Bad offense, very talented running back. So it's not that Woody Marks isn't talented. I just don't think he's going to get the chances he needs to perform.
And that's a fair point. I don't think maybe that's also why it is such a gross split in that. I don't know. I think a healthy body, Jonathan said that perfectly at the very beginning, is anybody that's even playing in the games at this stage, you're happy to put them in. But
is there anyone in Houston that you're unless you're in a deep league, let's say you're in a 10-man league, you playing anyone on Houston?
10-man league, maybe Dalton Schultz. That might be the only one I could fit in. And I love Jalen Noel's opportunities this week, but you're talking about specifically like a 14-team league, super deep. Jorge, I'm gonna let you push the button since my hand is full for House of LA, which is trade their Kenneth Walker for Omari and Hampton. Individual 6-1 right now, full point PPR. Also has Zach Charbonnet. Are you in favor of pulling the trigger, knowing you're 6-1?
Yeah.
For an injured Omari and Hampton? I'm guessing this is just redraft, or it wouldn't even be a question if it was Dynasty, I would assume. So yeah, we'll assume redraft right here. Yes? No?
Yeah. Yes, I would absolutely. We look at Kenneth Walker and we look at Zach Charbonnet, we look at their splits. We see since week 4, for Charbonnet, for Walker, it's been since week 4, 19 attempts, 10, 17. We go to Charbonnet, 12, 9, 12, 12. And I get it. We're seeing more of the splits becoming more and more close together. But what are we seeing where it's not so balanced is in the red zone within the 5-yard line. Charbonnet is just seeding snaps. Walker is seeding snaps to Charbonnet in that department. So definitely taking more advantage of being in scoring position. Whereas, Omari and Hampton, he comes back, he gets healthy for you down the stretch of the season. Yeah, I'd rather, for redraft purposes, I'd rather have a situation where I can swing for even more upside than I already have at 6-1 with Hampton, and having that safe floor with Charbonnet.
That's a hard pass for me. I think Vidal is here to stay. I think he's proven he's a dual threat running back. Especially keep in mind, you got the Chargers, who are a pass first offense. You look at their receiving core. You got Keenan Allen, you got McConkey, you've got Quinton Johnson, and you've got the new tight end. I forget his name.
Rondé
Gatson. So you've got those 4 receivers who's Herbert is looking at first and foremost. The only time they're going to really be pounding the rock is when they're ahead, which, look, I'm expecting them to. But do you really think they're just going to let Vidal ride pine? No way. I mean, I think he's proven that he's worth 8 to 10 carries a game.
That is a very interesting point. Something we can't focus on it this week, but when Hampton comes back, I do think that's going to be something that we will have to focus our attention on. Let's focus our attention over to Rachel, who has a question that I look at the option and immediately my brain. So here's what it is for people listening that might not be watching: is Kayshon Boutte or Tez Johnson? I'm a huge Tez Johnson fan now. I really love the opportunity. If you remember, gosh, I don't know how many weeks ago it was. John Gruden was on a show. I don't know if he was on just Barstool or if he was talking with someone specifically. And before Tez Johnson blew up, he said, "Man, I love Tez Johnson. And you have to watch." And he just went on and on and on about how explosive and dynamic he was going to be. And I remember hearing it. And then I remember Tez Johnson coming in when Mike Evans was out. And then as Chris Godwin stays out. So I lean Tez Johnson. Jonathan, are you Boutte or Tez?
I think I'm going Tez here as well. It's tough. With Boutte, you've kind of seen this real, like, fluctuating production where he's had like a couple of really great games and then a couple of games where it's much more Stephon Diggs and Hunter Henry. I think given the injuries in Tampa, I think we can possibly be a little bit more confident in Tez Johnson. He's averaged 55 yards a game over the last 3 weeks. We've seen this like big playability with the touchdowns. We've seen these kind of like relatively consistent targets over the last 3 weeks, and so I think it's marginally clearer for me that he's going to see more work.
And House Belly says, "Thanks for the answer, guys. Obviously more torn now than ever."
Yeah,
as
that's what we do. That's what we do here.
I would go Hampton, but yeah.
So tell you what,
I do.
Yeah, you know who can do it? The Boutte Man can. The Boutte Man has shown he can run all the route trees. That's what I love. You watch Drake May. He uses all his receivers in every possible facet. There isn't some clear-cut post route runner. There isn't some clear-cut slot receiver. He's using all of them. And, Kayshon Boutte has shown that he can run across the field. He can do the deep. I mean, he's caught 2 or 3, deep balls for touchdowns. I worry with Tez Johnson. You look at his production. The last 2 weeks, he's made most of it on 2 big plays. One was a 52-yard bomb. One was a 40-something yard bomb, right? I hate to do the take it away thing, but that's really what he's good at. You have no Chris Godwin. You've got no Mike Evans. Teams know they're not just airing the ball down the field and praying that Evans is going to catch the ball. So I hate to say it, I think the Bucs are going to start to struggle without some really elite receivers until Chris Godwin comes back. No disrespect to Tez Johnson, but he's not Chris Godwin. He's not Mike Evans. I just don't think defenses are going to be, pulling 2 DBs on him.
See, we talk about track record. You go back to week 5 with Kayshon Boutte, 3 targets, right? You go back to week 6, 5 targets where he goes off for 93 and 2. Last week, back down to 2 targets. I get it. I get both sides of the coin here, where you're talking about, necessity and the target volume going towards Tez Johnson the past couple of weeks, and I also get the prowess of being a wide receiver that can run all the routes. But for me, I would go with volume, knowing that Tez Johnson is going to be, for the immediate future, one of the big passing options, especially coming out of the slot here with no Chris Godwin.
Yeah, of course, I started that saying that I was on the Tez sides, and the thing with Boutte that I will agree is that the highs have been high and the lows have been low. I mean, when you play, was it 70% of snaps and have 1 target, running routes for practice, he's the parabolic Boutte is the way I see it, because we've seen the highs and then nothing, and then last week with the touchdown, and both of them are touchdown dependent. Let's call a spade. We know that. I don't think Tez Johnson is going to go out, command 9 targets like he did last week, catch 7 of them for 85 yards on a consistent basis. But between the two, I think we do lean there. But let's see. So
Good news is they're probably your wide receiver 3. So, yeah, I'd be surprised if they're your even wide receiver 2. So that's a good problem to have with any of those options at wide receiver 3 or flex.
Absolutely. And that's a great point to bring up, too.
This week it might be wide receiver 1, but yeah.
Right, exactly. Yes. But normally, yes, wide receiver 3 there. Charlene wants to know, do we have any news on London? I'd not really like to start boring this week. The last news we heard is that Adam Schefter reported is going to be they're going to test the hip before the game, and they'll keep us posted on that. Another news that kind of just
do it now. Oh, he just froze. Okay. I have no idea what he was about to say. So until he comes back, let's get into it. I know exactly. Like the news that's so important that we're about to say is
there he is. He's back.
Then he freezes, and it's like,
I thought that's the best part. I thought you froze, and I'm like, Jorge, the news that just broke. I was like, you suck at this button pushing, and then I realized I went, oh, that's me, and then everything went back. But yes.
So is this breaking news right now? Is this breaking news? Okay.
Boom shakalaka!
Tua Tagovailoa is sick. He might not play. There's potential. It's illness related.
He's sick.
Yeah, someone in the comments on X said,
well, the Dolphins are sick of seeing him throw picks. That's
correct. And then I saw another comment, which I thought was hilarious, is that, the Tua flu game, a la Michael Jordan, he only throws 3 interceptions instead of 5.
That's funny.
That was good. So I'm going to assume there is no way that this is not epic fail or any type of clever. This is just ASRH1QE. If you figure something out that means, let me know, and I'll give them the credit. Should they trade Arondé Gadsden and Trey Benson for Tet McMillan and Joshua Downs? It's a half-point PPR for context. Jonathan, would you trade the hottest tight end in fantasy right now and a soon-to-be returning Trey Benson for a, obviously, now with no Bryce Young this week, but probably going forward, Tet McMillan and Joshua Downs?
I think I would want more. I really like Tet. I think, he's someone that as the year progresses, I think like we've seen the target share, the upside is going to be slightly capped, just given that it's the Carolina Panthers. No offense. But I think I just want someone a little bit more with a little bit more upside than Downs. Because obviously the play there has been split so much kind of between players, and Downs he's been a little better over the last few weeks, but I think he's not someone that you can consistently rely on. So I think I would be looking for someone slightly better than Downs with maybe a little bit more upside.
Yeah, with how bad the tight end landscape is this year, you can't let go of Gadsden. He's too good. And you've got Trey Benson, who I think slides in and becomes the number 1 running back, carrying virtually all the workload. That's not a fair trade for me. That for number 1 receiver on a below average offense, and Josh Downs, who's the second, third option. Yeah, I'm not saying Colts are not doing great, but
let's provide context to this a little bit more. So his team is this. He's got Patrick Mahomes. His receivers are Drake London, George Pickens, Debo. He would be adding Tet in place of now, an injured London this week, or injured Debo every other week. So essentially it'd be Tet, London, and Pickens. His running backs, Bijan, Jalen Warren, Tyler Algier, and then he would be getting rid of Trey Benson. So his running backs would be Bijan and Jalen Warren. Here's the kicker, though. Here's the tight end spot. His tight end is Trey McBride. So knowing that you have Trey McBride, do you just let Gadsden in a redraft, I'm assuming as well, sit on your bench, or do you upgrade Tet over Debo or London? Does that change your opinion of that, Dave, at all?
No, not at all. I mean, you're set at wide receiver there. London, Pickens, Debo, you're perfectly fine. There's no reason to. Plus, keep in mind, you can throw McBride and Gadsden in the flex. You can do a TE in a flex if you really want, but it is. If you lose McBride, you're in a world of hurt for tight end. I would much rather have the Gadsden there, and then move the chess pieces with London, Pickens, and Debo, rather than the alternative. So it's just, in my opinion, it's not a fair trade.
I skipped over a huge portion of that too. I skipped over Jonathan Taylor as his number 2 running back. Yeah, my bad.
I mean, that's a great problem to have. He's your number 2 running back.
I also skipped over something very important, and I apologize, Ryan. I skipped over this question right after that to get to that trade, and that was ignorant of me. And I hope you're still here to get the answer, because this is a big one. I realize that. Chuba Hubbard, we talked about the rotating role. Bill Krosky Merritt against the Kansas City Chiefs formidable defense with no Jaden Daniels. Jorge, you're the Commanders fan here. Do you go with the full workload most likely of Bill against a really tough defense, or do you go with the potential split role with a who knows hot hand approach we don't exactly know in Carolina of Chuba Hubbard?
I am not a huge fan of the one-dimensionality of teams that I think Washington was going to have with Marcus Mariota as the quarterback. We go to fantasy points allowed. The Chiefs are the 7th toughest matchup for running back. So give me, even though there is going to be a split, give me the floor of Chuba Hubbard. And then we got another question here from Charlene. Sorry for missing it earlier. Need 2 flex. Yes, it's PPR. Ugh, scoffs hard. Sterling Shepard, Juwan Johnson, Travion Henderson, Andre Yoshivas, excuse me. Right up the first 2 right there, Shepard and Juwan Johnson. I think the Saints are going to they're going to play catch up. A lot of garbage time points are going to be going in the passing game and the receiving game. So Juwan Johnson for sure. Travion has done nothing, literally nothing to warrant even being in consideration. What's up?
He's going backwards. I mean, in terms of touches, like he's seen fewer touches now than he was at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And
right. Yeah, so Shepard and Juwan Johnson. Anybody else think differently?
I think he's actually been taken over officially on the depth chart by, I forget who the second running back is. I think he's technically the 3rd string running back now, Travion Henderson.
Gross.
I can't stand it. So,
I mean,
good morning.
I mean, for me, I'm still like, I think I still would not drop him. Like in like a 12-team league or whatever. Like maybe I'm call me an idiot if you want to, but I just don't want to get rid of someone like that who has such pedigree that we've seen highlights during the preseason. Like we know, like deep down there is a player there somewhere. I just don't want to get rid of him just yet, and then in 2-3 weeks' time, find he takes over the backfield.
Yeah, it is the trickiest. It's probably the trickiest question that I think many of us have on our rosters week in and week out. Is do you hold on to something that you see? And again, I think I've said this 1,000 times over. We don't know as much as what the team knows for their respective actual football team, and we don't see them in practice. We think, we watch enough football. We see the talent. We see the draft capital. Why would you bring him on? We know what happens where Ramondre fumbles. It just makes too much sense to not see him in the lineup, and I still can't drop him.
I don't know, man. I think we've all bought GameStop at $500 a share, right? We got to accept a loss. It is what it is. He was very overhyped going into the season. Yeah, we all had high expectations, but let's be honest, Ramondre Stevenson is doing great. He's actually more of a dual threat running back now. It depends what's out there. I mean, if you've got, I don't know, I'm just throwing like Ray Davis, a Tyler Algier, or someone, I don't know, I'm just throwing names out there to like sitting on the waiver wire. I'd much rather them, because you know that if the number 1 goes down, they slide in straight away and become a 3-down back, right? Do we know that about Henderson? If Ramondre goes down, is Henderson the number 1? Probably not.
It would be, I want to, boy, you want to talk about valuable stock and commodity that if you had Travion and Ramondre gets hurt in a game before the trade deadline, what your trade value for Travion, it is probably the most highs and lows. Like there could be a person in your league that wouldn't give you a 4th round pick next year for him because they're done with exactly like you said, the thought process of New England. And there's another that you might be able to get a first and for him. Getting me with my dynasty takes probably not a great person to answer that, but from a PPR running back take for it, Dave, I'm gonna let you, Dave, you answer this.
We got a couple more.
Yeah, I know this is
Check
a question.
Okay.
I'm taking Pollard. I mean, I know that the Chiefs are on the up and up, but I don't like that backfield because I don't know who they're playing. Kareem Hunt's still a goal line back, still catches balls. Pacheco, he's still there, but you've got Smith as well. They're really working him a bit more. Is Pacheco going to get 10 touches? Probably. What's he going to do with him? I don't know. That floor is very, very low. That floor is about 20 yards. And I just don't like that floor. I know with Pollard, he gets the goal line looks. He's going to get, he's a dual threat running back. It's a very below par offense. Don't get me wrong, but your floor is a lot higher with Pollard.
Yeah, of course, I'm biased being, watching the games. I've been pleasantly surprised with Pacheco's usage over the last couple weeks. And shockingly enough, Isaiah Pacheco, despite that, still actually has more red zone rushing attempts than Tony Pollard on the season. Know that? How crazy is that?
And how many have fallen in the end zone?
One versus Pollard's 2.
I mean, that's still 200% increase.
That's a 200% increase. That is a see that
it's a lot of percentage.
Is why I love you, Dave. That is a huge exactly. That's awesome.
So, did you ever see that Simpsons episode where Disco Stew was trying to sell disco sales, and he showed a chart from 1970 to 1979, and it was going up.
That is a great pull right there. So my concern with Pollard is just how narrow the gap is becoming with him and Tajay Spears and snaps per game. But I think the edge in receiving in that regard still goes to Pollard. But look, for those who don't know, I'm a Commanders fan. Nate's a Chiefs fan. So needless to say, this is going to be I'm going to use the word interesting very loosely in this situation.
It works in the Discord later.
Yeah. That is. I'm going to go with Pacheco this week, but I agree with you, Dave. The receiving work and the usage should still be in Pollard's favor. But Tajay Spears is somebody who I'm trying to acquire in dynasty leagues if I can going forward.
Speaking of which, I actually got to head to the. I'm heading to that game, so I'm on the way to your way now. Going to Kansas City. My flight leaves in like an hour and a bit, so I have to vamonos, guys.
All right. Well, you got the game's not till tomorrow, so you can. It's only a 4-hour drive here. We'll see you in about.
I ain't driving to Kansas City, man.
Well, no, it's 4-hour drive from Kansas City to St. Louis.
Oh,
so then you just rent a car, come here. I'll get you dinner, and then you can head back over tomorrow and watch.
Cheeky little 4-hour drive.
There you go.
No,
8 hours if you go back and forth, but whatever.
It was. There must be something going on other than the game. Flights are expensive, man. They were like $1,000 a ticket. I don't know what's going on in KC. Surely can't be the Commanders game.
All right. I mean, every game is a high ticket in Kansas City. So, Dave, thanks again. Great seeing you. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you next week.
Have a good one, guys. Take it easy.
Dave will be firsthand as the Chiefs. I don't believe they'll shut out the Commanders as they did the Raiders last week, but something tells me it might not be be great, but who knows? All right. Zeke wants to know Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts. Jonathan?
I think I'm still going Jalen Hurts here. Call me crazy, but I'm really looking forward to this game actually against the Giants. Like I think this is going to be really like just a really fun game, really back and forth. And we have seen an improvement from that passing attack over the last couple of weeks. I mean, last week it was sort of 23 attempts, but the 2 weeks before were both in the 30s. We know the rushing upside that Hurts possesses, so I think I'm still going Hurts over Daniel Jones. I assume it's Daniel Jones and not Matt Jones.
That's a very good distinction there, Ezekiel. If you could put that in the chat, because that changes.
I think it's got to be Daniel Jones.
I would hope so. But we look at the past 3 weeks, weeks 5 through 7, in fantasy points allowed. The Giants and the Titans are literally back to back, so it's kind of like, give me Daniel Jones, even though it should be a lopsided affair between the first and second half in terms of game scripts. I think Daniel Jones is still going to put enough points on the board in the first half and beginning of the second to warrant this start here.
Yep, I'm right there with you guys. I agree. All the props to Daniel Jones in the world, and
sorry, I meant Jalen Hurts. Sorry, I said Daniel Jones. I meant okay. Sorry, never mind. Okay, enough confusion. All right. Cass County Cards. Okay, go ahead, Nate. Sorry about that.
No, it's good. He has Juwan Jennings on his bench, or they do, whatever. Has Wandale, Jalen Waddle, Bill starting. Do you switch out Wandale or Waddle or Krosky Merritt for Juwan Jennings? It is a full point PPR. Go one by one. Jonathan, Juwan Jennings or Wandale Robinson?
Wandale.
All right. Jorge, Juwan Jennings or Jalen Waddle? You're thinking way too hard.
I know. It's not Krosky Merritt. I know that. I would go Juwan Jennings just because we don't know if Tua is even playing and Waddle. If Tua is playing, then Waddle. If Tua is not playing, then Jennings.
I'm still starting Waddle no matter what, but I understand.
Can't do it.
I can. It's just if Kittle wasn't another week returned, I would see a path to Jennings having, similar usage to or maybe not usage, but production to Waddle with whoever's at quarterback. It's just an illness.
Let's go back to
Tua. It's not an injury. He's just sick.
We go back to the last time that Jennings and Pearsall were on the field at the same time. Both guys were able to get plenty of target volume and getting plenty of production. So to say that George Kittle, yes, he is another week, into the mix. Obviously, didn't do much, if anything. It didn't do anything last week, but I still think there's viability for both Jennings and Kittle to have good productivity this week. But I understand where you're going with Waddle. He is the target volume. He is by far the beneficiary of Tyreek Hill's absence. But
tell you, not to completely eradicate my own take, but I knew that there was a little wonkiness with Waddle this week, and I didn't know what the relationship to the little notes were in that is a hamstring, like not injury, but a hamstring tightness throughout the week. I'm still not changing my opinion because I want to stand firm on it, but I will say that maybe if it was a different one, like a little closer, like I have Jennings just enough further down from there, where if I was making a decision between, say, someone like Stephon Diggs or, like you said, maybe even the Wandale, I worry if Atlanta dominates Miami, why keep Jalen Waddle in the game as well? But that's sorry about that, Cass County. That probably not real helpful that we just all completely disagree with each other. We're going to just have to pause the show before every question, have a consensus. Come on, fire it off so that way we give perfection, not this split shit.
It's like ready, break. Okay, here we go.
Exactly. Got it.
Yeah.
And where I'm gonna let you control the chat so that we're not just bouncing over things.
Okay.
You pull it up, I'll read.
He found some humor in it, so we gotta love that at least. Mr. Scamper's in the chat. Welcome. Hope you're having your coffee this morning. PPR needs to Coker, Algier, Samaje P. Ryan, if Tyler Algier even plays. So we saw Coker come back last week, but didn't have a lot of productivity. Obviously, it's his first game back after being on IR for so long. Algier, honestly, those two right now, because we saw Chase Brown just tear it up for the Bengals. You know, they have the stability now at the quarterback position with Joe Flacco. So yeah, give me Coker and Algier in this situation. What about you, Jonathan?
I think Coker definitely gives you kind of more upside. The only worry that I have is that it's like last week where he gives you absolutely nothing. At least with Samaje Perine, you know that he's going to get like, I don't know, at least sort of 5 to 10 touches probably. So like Perine does give you a little bit of a floor, but Coker's such an interesting player. I think like there is definitely a role for him like longer term. I would just be a little bit concerned that he might literally give you nothing today, same as last week.
Well, knowing what he has there, should he just quit the league? But somebody's in third place, and he's also starting Pop Douglas.
Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing. I think is the,
No, I say quit the league. Yeah, I just that's an easy one. Quit and third place. I mean, Scampers, come on. It's I think in the words of Ricky Bobby. Actually, it's the words of Ricky Bobby's dad. No, it's technically not, because his dad actually said, "Well, he was high when he said it. I believe he said there's all kinds of different places. There's first, there's second. So yeah, if you're not first, you're last." And there's movie reference number one. One of my all-time favorite people met at the expo. Just Paul and Jay. Good morning, guys. Good morning to you as well. It's hopefully you were in better than third place, like Scampers. Good Lord, third place. What a bum.
I know, horrible.
He knows I'm kidding.
So going down the list of more players that are out, notable players. We got Calvin Ridley, we got AJ Brown, Pearsall. That's nothing new. This is kind of and we talked about Drake London a little bit earlier. This is a tricky one here, especially for those who were asking about Tet McMillan earlier. Does Andy Dalton coming in at quarterback do anything for you as far as like elevating Tet's floor for fantasy purposes this week?
So Andy Dalton, when he came in, I don't remember the time frame. Last year, we had that immediate surge out of the slot because he had this familiarity with throwing to the slot position. And I remember addressing that last year, looking at it and thinking, okay, we can get some production out of the slot. Is it a boost for, like an outside receiver? I think it's an improvement over Bryce Young. I mean, I didn't want to believe that going into the season after what we saw the last 10 weeks of last year, is that Bryce Young was, or last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it was, where he was a top 10 fantasy quarterback. A lot of that was on the ground with his legs, but I haven't seen that, evolution of Bryce Young that we were kind of hoping for this year going in. So I think it does. It makes me a little happy, but I don't think it's going to improve that much. He's already averaging. I mean, he's had, targets of 8, 9. So he's already hyper targeted. Right. Jonathan, it's kind of on par.
Yeah, I think so. Just because, like, yeah, I was just looking at his stats a second. Like, he's hit double-digit PPR points in all but 2 games this year. Like, Tet's been a pretty solid player for us. Like, if albeit like a bit unspectacular in terms of, like, he scored 2 touchdowns in 1 game, and that's it. But I think he does. Dalton just provides you with some level of, like, reliability to him. You know that it's not going to be special, but it's not going to be kind of absolutely terrible,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. And, like, this is actually, like, it should be a pretty good matchup. Like, the Bills aren't a great defense, and also Carolina should probably be a negative game script as well. So there should be a pretty safe floor for Tet today. I would think.
So would you say that the Red Rifle has turned into? Is he still the Red Rifle after this week, or is he turning into the Red Rifle BB gun, Red Rider BB gun from the Christmas Story?
Oh, well, I mean, one you can shoot your eye out with, and the other one you may want to shoot your eye out with after watching. I don't know exactly which one we're going to get. I'm intrigued to see just how, if that's the case at the running back position, if they still rotate, if I don't know, there's so many ifs in this scenario because I feel like I'm just picking one narrative and building off of so much. But
Well,
Jay says he said it exactly right. Is most likely Andy Dalton's going to come out, and we see it almost yearly. Whoever the new, the quarterback that comes in that fills in the first week, they blow up. 275 and 2 scores wouldn't shock me in the least, and then he falls back to earth really quickly.
I will say this though. We were talking about just which way to go between Chuba and Rico Dowdle. Combined, they provide stability to that offense in terms of the running game, right? So you do have some balance. So you're not actually having a situation where with Dalton last year, and this is before Chuba blew up towards the end of the season, it was very one-dimensional. So this could potentially, going back to what just following what Jay was saying in the chat, is maybe a back-to-back week thing, depending on how long, Bryce Young is out, given the balance that this offense should have going forward. But definitely, I agree with you guys. I don't think it elevates Tet's floor, going back to the question. But if anything, it does mean I don't think you're going to see a drop-off in the consistency of what he's already established so far.
Cass County,
go ahead.
Was established. Sorry, I just was intrigued to see how it was broken down. Is that Carolina last year with Andy Dalton at quarterback had 65% of the targets to the wide receiver position. But here's a big one. It was nearly 20% of the targets went to the running back position. Will that carry over? Not 100% certain, but we did see that positive is that Andy Dalton wasn't afraid to check down. So maybe more of a boom for Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard collectively, because that number did drop once Bryce came in about 5% at the running back spot. So just another notable thing that's just going to throw a wrinkle into everybody's conversation.
Oh, sure. All right. Cass County Cards, thanks for being patient. He says, it's a tough one. I do have Christian Watson on my bench, but I don't think he gets many snaps other than him, and everyone else I have is on bye. I mean, so his other options earlier in the chat, we were talking about Juwan Jennings, Wandale Waddle, and Bill Krofsky-Merritt. Would Christian Watson be somebody that you would replace on any of these situations here? I do not.
Not especially out of the gate.
Yeah, especially if this is a PPR. If you were telling me this was a standard, it's not. So it's PPR. Never mind. So definitely not the first week. What you just said. Mr. Scampers in the chat said, would you start Chuba over Bill if you were already starting Dowdle? I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were just saying, right? You put these two together, you have a pretty balanced situation in Carolina. I can't trust any pieces of the Commanders' offense without Jaden Daniels being the glue that keeps it all together. Sorry, Marcus Mariota, but yeah, I would, in this situation, I would be okay starting Dowdle and Chuba in this matchup.
Yeah, I do go back and forth. I hate having
Two in the same
having
team.
two on the same, especially in
Yeah.
a scenario where I don't see how they. I mean, Buffalo has been susceptible as far as from a defensive standpoint of keeping other offenses moving. You know, I mean, I guess what I was getting at that is, do I think Carolina is going to get shut out and it's going to be no offense whatsoever? No, probably not. But boy, I don't love Krosky Merritt against Kansas City, but I still think that I would rather take the volume, at least the guaranteed volume, but it's really close.
I really don't like capping my upside by playing two running back, particularly when it, as we've just been saying, it should probably be a negative game script as well. Like, yeah, they might see targets, but as you were just saying, Nate, we don't know like where those targets are necessarily going to go, if it's going to be one over the other, or like how that's going to be split. So you're kind of just relying on them both falling into the end zone, which yeah, it could happen, but
it's happened 8 times against the Bills.
I think I'd prefer to just
Diversify.
move to a completely different matchup entirely.
I did not realize the Bills have allowed 8 rushing touchdowns to the running back position on the season, but I still don't think it changes my my mind completely.
Okay.
If Drake London is out,
right,
do you drop Dallas Goedert and play Darnell Mooney? Do you play Darnell Mooney over Dalton Schultz? Or do you just go dual tight end and go Dalton Schultz and Dallas Goedert? We talked earlier about Dalton Schultz as being probably one of the safest plays in Houston.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert against his Giants team, Jorge, you mentioned some of the benefits of Darnell Mooney. Jonathan was a little concerned with the deep threat need. What I'd like to get both of your takes. Jorge, I'll start with you.
So the Giants, are just outside the top 12 in terms of fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. To throw in a wrench into this scenario train here, I would start Mooney and Schultz in this situation as my if Drake London is out. So that's my take there.
Jonathan, any
I have a very unscientific take here. It is National Tight Ends Day, therefore play as many tight ends as possible. Go 12 personnel. In my home league, guy that I'm playing is playing 3 tight ends. He's gone 13 personnel, and I am terrified because it's National Tight End Day. They're all going to score touchdowns. Like slightly more seriously, I would not drop Goddard. I think like without AJ Brown, like we've seen Goddard have like a huge number of targets, even with like both Devonta Smith and AJ Brown playing. He's the first week of the season, I think he was target leader in the Eagles. So I think he has such a safe floor this week. I think Schultz has a much safer floor than Mooney, is how I would probably play it. So I think I would probably just stick with Schultz and Goddard.
Do we know, was last year was week 8 National Tight End week as well? I'm trying to pull up just stats from a week without seeing a specific week and date, because if it was week 8 last year, there were a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fantasy players in standard scoring at the tight end position that had over 10 points. In half point PPR, that number rises to 16.
28th of October, whenever that.
I bet that was week 8.
That helps.
So we're gonna assume. So yeah, you know what? Stats be damned. We're going
Yeah.
science, as Jonathan said. I mean, not real science, of course, but Scottish science is what I'll stick with,
Wow.
and that sounds
And
like
that is this is the home of some of like the most important inventions in the world ever. Scottish Enlightenment was that is now turned into a history lesson. But there are a
Wow.
ridiculous number of inventions from Scotland compared to the rest of the world. So I will
like maybe the
slightly push
telephone,
back on you on that one.
penicillin,
Yeah, indeed.
television.
Yeah,
I
a
mean,
deep fried Mars bar. These are very important inventions that have been
that's
gold.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. The steam engine, the refrigerator, the pneumatic tire, the first cloned mammal. Shout out Dolly the sheep. Yeah, it's
Yes,
it
that
pretty
you
much.
can see in the National Museum of Scotland. I've seen that.
You've seen Dolly the sheep?
Yeah, it's like spinning. It's weird.
The sheep carcass just spinning around. That's
Just
that-
It's on this like it's on this plinth. Next time I go, I'll take a video for you guys because it's just spinning around. It's really odd.
that's funny.
Yeah, I want a bunch of pictures. But all right, this is a tough one. I have to admit
Yeah.
because Dak Prescott. I challenge you to find me 5 other quarterbacks that over the season, over at least the last 5 weeks, that you would have started over Dak. And I think that list is very short. Or Drake May in a matchup that we all, I think, would covet if you didn't have Dak. But all right, we're gonna do the consensus thing.
Yeah.
What do we think? I go Dak.
Yeah, I'll go Dak. You know, we look at fantasy points allowed to the quarterback. Both matchups very tough. The Browns at 3, the third most difficult one, averaging the average being 13.7. The Broncos right behind them at 15.3. So I trust the receiving weapons consistency in Dallas than I do the narrative like, oh, it's the Browns, and and therefore Drake May should just eviscerate the Browns. Drake May is not the this is not an offense that just consistently eviscerates people. They just find really good ways to win, and Drake May finds great ways to get fantasy points. So,
and I was completely wrong last week with Denver shutting down the Giants, and they did a really good job. So fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, never get fooled again type scenario. Charlene is playing Lindsay Rhodes in the Queen's Classic. So clearly this is big. She wants bragging rights, shit talking ability. So, I'm basically dead in the water. Atta girl. Way to jump in with the positivity. That's what we like to hear. But no, you're not dead in the water. You just need a wide receiver. Okay, you started Jordan Mason. We all live and learn. That happens. I thought it was a good play as well. Who knew that Carson Wentz was going to be basically more mobile than Dolly the sheep is at the Scottish Museum of Technology or whatever it's called. Needs a wide receiver and 2 flex. So let's start with the wide receiver position first and foremost. Troy Franklin, Jahan Dotson, Jaden Higgins, and then we'll look at the 2 flex out of the rest. So, Jonathan, between Troy Franklin, Jahan Dotson, Jaden Higgins, I know that's
Franklin,
the face I
I
made.
guess.
Yes,
yeah.
say.
I mean,
Against
you're
Dallas,
not getting
right?
huge yardage totals, but you are still seeing plenty of targets. Like he's been used kind of. He does have that big playability in him. So I think I'm going to try Franklin.
He's of the names.
Great.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's probably the only one that has 3 top 30. I mean, he has 3 top 36 finishes. So he's been a wide receiver 3 times at least. Jorge.
Yeah, I was going to go to answer the question. So 1 wide receiver, so it'd be Franklin for me. Then flex, it would be Higgins and actually Dawson Knox in this matchup.
What if Dalton Kincaid plays? Still Knox?
Nope, still Knox. Give me Knox.
Yeah,
Knock on wood.
It goes back to science. We're going the tight end theme, and I don't have a problem from one tight end question to the next. Cass County Cards is starting Colson Loveland this week on a gut feeling with Komet out. It's not gut, it's science. And with McBride is on the bye. Should he see who's available or let it ride with Colson Loveland?
I mean, if Schultz is available, I'd rather play Schultz over Loveland. It depends on who's available on your waiver wire. If you want to drop that in there, we can better answer that question. But I mean, if this is looking like a by default, the only option I have here is Colson Loveland. So I would look for waiver wire options. But if that's that's who you got to roll with, that's who you got to roll with. So
yeah, I mean, of course, CU is available, and whoever is, holler at us and let us know. My guess is Dalton Schultz is probably not available, but then again, that's why I don't make assumptions. I assume this is not the. Go ahead.
So Nikki Banks is in the chat asking Caleb Williams or Joe Flacco. And that's how you have to say his name. You got to say it with the Baltimore accent, with the Joe Flacco. I would still start Joe Flacco in this situation over Caleb Williams.
Jonathan, any difference?
My instinct was just to say Caleb Williams, but I think I do feel better about Joe Flacco. It's like with this matchup, given the amount that they've been throwing as well. Like he hasn't thrown for less than like 40 passing attempts since he's moved. So yeah, I think I am going Flacco.
I have Caleb Williams higher, but I also think that I wouldn't be shocked to see Chicago use both Swift and Monangai against a Baltimore defense. Pretty susceptible, but they're pretty susceptible to every area, passing and running. But I could see Chicago getting ahead, holding that lead, running it, and not Caleb Williams having to necessarily air it out. I don't think Cincinnati's going to be down chasing points, but I think it's going to be a little with both of those defenses. I can see Flacco having a higher upside, I guess, or a little bit of a higher upside. I think, like you said, he's going to chuck the ball 40 times. Charlene had a question before.
Sorry, let me get into. Yeah. Oh, are you coming? Oh, yeah. Here we go. PPR, need 2 RBs and a flex. Henry, Doodle. Yep, gotta love that Rico Doodle. J.K. Dobbins, Alvin Kamara, Woody Marks, Tez Johnson, Juwan Jennings. So for me, I would go Jennings, Tez, and I would go Dobbins.
Yeah, I'm still going Henry. I don't. Week 6, 130 plus yards from scrimmage. I know. I understand. There's reason to be concerned, especially without Lamar again. I'm hoping that it's turning the corner and they realize that they're going to ride Derrick Henry more so than just kind of the split. It was an odd split, and him being completely out of the equation, like game script was so negative against him. And maybe that's the case this week too. But boy, I would go myself. I'm going to go Henry and Kamara, and then the flex I think go JK.
I think that's what I would do as well. Like also considering that Kendrick Miller is now out.
Yep.
Like yes, they've got Devin Neal, but I'd feel as though that split is going to be much more towards Alvin Kamara than and giving Neal sort of minimal touches. So I think I am with you. The only other one is Rico that I would maybe put in the conversation there as well. Yeah, I think that's where I go.
Yeah, Jonathan, I know you need to get running. I appreciate you joining
I
us.
do. I've got some family commitments to get to, but yeah, thank you as always. It's been great fun.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Catch you next week.
You got it, brother.
Sounds good.
All right, take care.
See ya.
Jonathan Konowski, everyone. It's always great to get a chat with him in the morning. It definitely is. It's nice that we've got friends and co-hosts and family members across the world. It's great to bring them on. And Charlene, I agree with you. We will put the word out to StreamYard that or whomever you can't edit. I hate that too, because you know that we will unfortunately put it out there and then people will question, does she really even know how to spell? I mean, oh gosh, poor thing. And it goes down a rabbit hole. Jorge experienced that last week.
Oh, sure.
But we have passed on. Dylan. Oh. What up, man? It's full point PPR. He's got to pick 2. So, or at the quarterback position, starting there, Jorge. Justin Fields at the Bengals. And as contextually speaking, like you said, no Garrett Wilson. Kirk Cousins, most likely against Miami. Perfect phrasing. It is a dog shit defense. Maybe no Drake London. Aaron Rodgers, revenge game narrative against a good defense. Or, Jorge, say his name.
Joe Flacco.
The OG Mr. Cool. You're starting 2 of these.
Right.
Earlier, we picked Flacco over Caleb. So I would think that by proxy, that means Flacco has to be 1 for you in this scenario as well, correct?
That would be correct, yes.
Your number 2 is going to be the interesting one because I think that and you can answer yes or no to each one of these. Can Aaron Rodgers just revenge game pettiness that we know should come out overcome a Green Bay defense? Yes or no?
In storybook, fairy tales, yes. And do I think I think this game is going to be very competitive.
Okay.
I don't know if this is going to be a fantasy friendly at the quarterback position situation. There may be like a few clutch throws, or as what PFF calls it, big time throws, BTTs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. The yardage for Aaron Rodgers has never been somebody who he's putting up tons of yards. It's more so the touchdowns that he's just been very efficient with. I'm not scared of this Bengals defense. I think Fields, his rushing upside is going to provide enough of a floor there. So I would go Flacco and Fields in this situation. Cousins, if Drake London does not play, that continues to
good news is
down.
We agree on that. It is I have Flacco and Fields as my 2 as well, which is great. Here's another one for you. Saquon Barkley or Quinshon Judkins. Non-PPR standard. I will see myself out of the standard league questions. Jorge, that's all on you.
Saquon Barkley or Judkins. Look, it's hard to ignore what Quinshon Judkins has done since coming back or since starting the season after missing the first few weeks. The real question you have to ask yourself is, are you comfortable sitting Saquon Barkley if he goes off against the Giants? And looking at what he's done the past couple weeks in standard has not looked good, needless to say. So a lot of the upside of Saquon Barkley is the fact that he is that dual threat running back who can do anything and everything for your team. The question you really got to ask yourself is this Giants offense, is this Eagles offense fixed now? Did they finally figure out how to, get the passing game going and balance things out? Are they going to be more pass heavy in this situation? I don't know. And the fact that I don't know, and the fact that I know that Judkins has been the more reliable option the past few weeks, I know it's maybe hot takey, but I would roll Judkins in this non-PPR over Barkley.
I don't know how. I mean, I think it is hot takey if you just ask the general millions of fantasy players. I think the consensus would probably say Barkley, but yeah, peeling away the layers of the onion, you worry about the tush push scenario that Jalen Hurts could take one of the touchdowns away from Barkley. The passing game, as you mentioned, while getting better in Philly on the stat sheet, really 2 of the play, the AJ Brown touchdowns were I don't think it can. He got behind the defender on a really well round. I say route. It was more of a kind of a backyard street schoolyard play, which was great. It was smart to get him open and hit him deep. But I'm going to agree with you. I think that while I don't know if I could actually do it myself, make that caveat, I still think that Judkins is a really, really good play. And Blake, we're going with it. Scampers agrees with you, and Jorge says Flacco for sure. However you say it.
Flacco for sure. Exactly. Gotta love the Baltimore accents. Cass County Cards. I'm sorry.
No.
Cass County Cards is asking Schultz, Ertz, Fannin, and Otten are his top waiver wire. Okay, so we went back and looked at the waiver wire options at the tight end position. It's only a 10-man league. I just had an initial gut feeling about Loveland. Get it? The rationale for Schultz, for what we were talking about earlier, is the fact that this offensive line is just not great for Houston. And so like a Jalen Noel, short to intermediate slot receptions, the same thing goes for Dalton Schultz. Kyle Ziegler here at Fantasy and Frames in his Plays and Fades article. If you head over to fantasyandframes.com and check that out, he's also on board the Schultz bandwagon here. So I would say go with Schultz as far as the waiver wire options. Do you disagree with any of those, Nate? Or would you still roll Loveland?
No, I would put Loveland probably fourth on that entire list of people that he put out there. I would have Fannin 1. I would then have Schultz right behind him. I would have Ertz, Otten, and then Loveland myself. That would be that's my order, which is not to say they're hugely separated, but Harold Fannin, I had that question from a buddy at work. It was Fannin or Rondé Gadsden. And I was like, man, Gadsden for the upside. Fannin's probably safer. He decided he wanted to go safer. Fannin's usage and involvement in that offense. And I don't know what the situation of David and Njoku is right now also. And if Njoku, who throughout the week has been limited, it was limited still through all week. I think he probably plays, but I would lean Fannin, and I could make a case for Dalton Schultz being the option there too. So either one of those two over Loveland for myself.
All right. Funny who's in the chat now. Somebody by the name of David Ibrahim. Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time caller. Where's that Australian guy? Well, he's given up his Australian citizenship, and now he's saying he is from the great land of Scotland, along with Jonathan Klonowski. So I don't know if that's an insult to Australian people, but if it is, headed your way. He is one fine piece. Okay, we're not just going to. Okay. Flex, full PPR, Olave, Diggs, Olave for me.
Yeah. I know he wants to start his Patriot, so he's hoping that we would say Diggs, but I would say Olave as well with you.
All right, we got the next one from Ruben. What's up, Ruben? Pittman or Higgins, wide receiver 2. Pittman.
Yeah, Pittman. I like the path for Higgins, of course, like we said earlier, with nobody else there. But the offense line scares me, and Pittman's just been too good. This Tennessee secondary, no L'Jarius Sneed now. Not that he was any good. It's probably actually almost a non-addition or a subtraction by subtraction. Is that him being on the IR is not necessarily a bad thing because he has not been a good defensive back.
All right, we got a question here from Josie Fox. I need to pick up a running back and drop one. I'm thinking of dropping Charbonnet, but my only real options are Marks and Spears. We talked about this earlier. I'm liking the fact that we're seeing an increase in the snaps per game and the snap percentage for Tajay Spears here. That's not nothing. Woody Marks, that backfield is kind of muddled in my opinion. I'm kind of staying away from that, especially this should be a situation where this should be more of a passing offense and the quick to intermediate throws for Justin Fields. Dropping Charbonnet I'm assuming that she means for either one of those options.
Yep.
I would not drop Charbonnet at all.
Either.
Yeah.
Nope, I wouldn't either.
All right. We got next question here from Moggs. What's up, Moggs? Cousins or Stroud this week? Woo! That is.
Now we're getting
that's
nasty.
a good one.
Man, I of all the waivers that are out there, and I've made this move myself where I had to start, and it was a super flex. I don't know if this is the same case or not, where I had some of the gross names, and I decided to shoot myself in the foot probably, and go Kirk Cousins. I still think I would. Obviously, the Drake London news is going to be important because without Drake London, I don't know if I would still. But boy, is the receiving game in Atlanta that much different than what it is in Houston and the offensive lines? But Jorge, you answer first and give me a time. Give me more seconds to go. Gosh, instead of doing it all.
So we know that the pass rush is not there for the 49ers, obviously with injuries. Bryce Huff, I think, has been declared out, but we need to double check that. He was dealing with a hamstring injury. I think he said he was going to be out for a couple of weeks. Kyle Shanahan said that. That being the case, there's this linebacker for the 49ers. His name is Tatum Bethune. If you need an IDP fill-in at the linebacking position and he's available, you need to go grab him right now and probably hold on to him for the rest of the season, especially if you're the Fred Warner manager. We were seeing him get into the backfield last week, just completely taken over, being a big playmaker. So that's my concern there, whether or not the 49ers find some way to manufacture pressures, whether it's for cornerbacks or safeties, loading the box, or even somebody like a Bethune who's playing pretty well. So I would go Kirk Cousins. The Miami Dolphins don't scare me at all.
Nope, neither.
Alex with Baltimore. Yeah. I mean, I'm a Commanders fan, so I can't really say yeah, but whatever. All right, you're up, Nate.
Jackson Dart or Caleb Williams. He's leaning Jackson Dart. The London injury designation also has him freaked out. What would you do if he plays? And he's already flexing Terry, but could also play Tez Johnson. So let's start with Dart or Caleb Williams. Jackson Dart against the Eagles. We know how dangerous that can be. But then again, I said the same thing about Denver last week, and Jackson Dart was nothing short of spectacular in that. Caleb Williams, we talked about earlier. Caleb in a would you rather. So would you rather Jackson Dart or Caleb Williams?
I would rather Jackson Dart. This young man has been playing lights out. The rushing upside is there more so than with Caleb Williams. So that for me is the deciding factor there.
Yep. I'm right there with you. So the next portion of this is the London injury designation has him freaked out. And what would you do if he plays? If he plays, I'm playing him. That's my easy, short answer. He's already flexing Terry, but could also play Tez Johnson. If London's playing, I'm not starting Tez over either of those two right now myself.
Right.
Even though I could see the potential and the safety net of, man, if one or both re-injures, re-aggravates, and misses, you'll regret not doing it. But I still think that's the safer play.
I think this is a situation where obviously you want to have like solidified opinions and researched opinions, but like there's also the narrative, like this is a situation where you don't get cute with your lineup. Terry McLaurin should be featured heavily by Marcus Mariota. This should be a game script situation where Washington is going to have to be playing, pass heavy, in the second half of the games, especially in the fourth quarter. So yeah, it's London and Terry McLaurin. If they're both good to go, then we know McLaurin is the one we're waiting for is Drake London. LeBron's brain 1470. I love all these usernames. You all have some creative names. I love it. Darnell Mooney or Chuba Hubbard. Look, I mentioned it earlier. We look at half PPR and then of course in full PPR out of 13 games played with Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney had double-digit fantasy points in 7 of them. So, if Drake London does not play, hey, great. Even more reason to start Darnell Mooney over Chuba Hubbard. What about you, Nate?
Yeah, the Chuba Hubbard Rico Dowdle scenario is by far the most challenging for me, just because I know that it could change on a dime, and we could see more usage out of either one of the two backs. But I'm going to assume a 50-50 workload. I'm going to also assume that Darnell Mooney will get more volume in this game, and I'll go with Darnell Mooney as well.
All right, then we got a couple more. We said Cass County cards. Appreciate it, fellas. Good luck this week. Good luck to you too. Let us know how you did. Come back next week. Always around 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern for you. Moggs with the AO with my slight to Baltimore. I grew up in Maryland, live in Virginia, root for the DC team. Go figure. But I don't hate. I used to hate the Ravens. I used to think all the Ravens fans back when, after their Super Bowl back in 2001, was it 2001? Were basically spiteful Commanders fans who just couldn't handle the losing and just moved up to rooting for Baltimore. Now I don't feel as strongly. But so I don't hate Baltimore Moggs. I guess that's where I'm trying to go with that.
Sure sounds like you do. I mean,
I did. I used to have a lot of animosity towards former Commanders fans who converted because they couldn't handle. But it's
it sounds to me like you're just taking it out on an entire city. I mean, I don't think that is
fan base. Fan
really?
Base. Yeah,
I think I heard that you hate the entire
city of Baltimore
state. No, the entire state of Maryland. Sorry, that's what I took out of that. That's called, it's my inference of the situation. Let's infer what Jonathan Santiago needs to do when he has to choose between Stephon Diggs or Romeo Doubs. It's a PPR. So also, if London sits, would you drop JMO? Ban Jonathan right now from the chat. How dare you slander Jameson Williams in this chat with me? No, but I get it. And pick up Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, or Josh Downs to play this week. So let's start there with Diggs or Doubs.
Doubs. Jordan Love has loved Romeo Doubs the past few weeks, and I get it. Diggs is the primary guy for Cleveland, but this is not a situation where Drake May is going to have to be lobbing it up to Stephon Diggs, whereas this game for the wide receivers, we were talking about quarterbacks earlier, how this should be more of a good game football wise, but for fantasy for quarterbacks, should not be on your high list of people. So I would go Dobbs for the receiving options, however.
Gosh, and I wanted to say the same. I have Diggs ahead of Dobbs as of right now, but the compelling side makes me want to say I'm still sticking with Diggs myself. I don't think Christian Watson gets heavily involved and used in his first matchup, but I do think it's one more mouth to feed. It's really close. I don't think that it's a huge separation between either. So in a full point PPR, I think the target volume and potential for just overall catches increases with Diggs myself. So here's the second part of that. If London sits, would you drop JMO? You say no, correct? Jorge? You've already hated on the entire state of Maryland. Do you want to hate on the?
I have not hated. I'm
Missouri
from Maryland
and Michigan.
I am Moggs. I grew up in Silver Spring. I'm not hating Maryland. Okay, just Baltimore. The fan base, except for you, because we obviously love you, Moggs. So anyhow, where I'm going with this is when I drop Jameson Williams, it's very hard for me to drop a piece of this Lions passing game, regardless of how much he sucked this year. I'm still going to stick by Jameson Williams. Troy Franklin seems to be more of like a 1 week play, and Josh Downs. What have we really seen from Josh Downs this year? So I would stick with Jameson Williams.
The Josh Downs. Well, actually, I take that back. The Alec Pierce matchup this weekend or today, I guess, is going to be excellent. So I actually like Alec Pierce in that specific game more than Josh Downs myself, but I am not dropping Jameson either. How about this though? The full point PPR, Rico Dowdle or Michael Pittman. Gosh, this Carolina game is going to we're going to sit here in whatever time the game is. Is it at noon or is it at?
Let me pull it up right now. 1 second. It is at noon versus Buffalo. Yeah.
So by 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock Eastern or 2 o'clock Pacific or whatever time it is, wherever you're listening, watching, and thinking of this show, we're either going to be hated because we were completely wrong and it was one person, the other, or both, or it's neither and they both are garbage. And hence us not choosing to take either one of the two options and the would you rathers pays off because I'm taking Pittman.
I'm taking Rico. So there we go. Yeah, love it. Awesome. Frosty.
Oh,
How's that
boy.
for a Frosty? Look, the Bills are a C for the rushing yards, and I get it. Chuba's going to be there. There's not a situation where I don't think they're not going to be able to both eat. The PPR factor doesn't sway me one bit. I don't see this as being a situation where the Colts are going to be having to air it out. A lot. If anything, this is more speaking to me to be more of a Jonathan Taylor game. So give me the easier matchup for Rico Dowdle in this situation.
Every game has been a Jonathan Taylor game. And that has stopped Michael Pittman from having 8 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 5 targets, in touchdowns in 5 of 7 games. But I get it. I understand completely. And Frosty, your second question, asking really more of a question, is Drake London is sitting. We don't know. Everything is, it's a game time decision. He has a hip injury. Schefter reported, and numerous other reports, that they're going to monitor it, check it before. We're just erring on the side of caution to not build too much on either side of that. Just, we'll keep you posted. If we have breaking news, Jorge will not only shatter your eardrums, but we will also deliver information with it.
Right, just like this.
Boom shakalaka!
Not breaking news there, but just giving an example of how I will be shattering said eardrums. Thank you, Nate.
You didn't have any breaking news?
No, you just said something about I will play something, and so I wanted to share with the folks what it is I would be playing if there was some breaking news.
Great.
Breaking news, Nate's eardrums have been broken.
Yeah, exactly. Pivoting away from some of the questions real fast, we've talked about most of the things, and I'll recap real quick for people that maybe there's now, almost 800 of you in here. If you didn't know yet, the list of players that have already been ruled out, game time decisions or questionable, are Lamar Jackson, Nico Collins, Brock Purdy, Bucky Irving, AJ Brown's out, Christian Kirk's out, Josh Reynolds, if you picked him up in a last-minute ditch effort for the Jets, is out. Calvin Ridley is out. Garrett Wilson is out. Ricky Pearsall is out. Joshua Palmer, again, congratulations, Josh Palmer. You made this list, but only because whatever. Michael Penix is a game time decision. Bryce Young is not expected to play. And Drake London is a game time decision. They will let us know usually before that, usually around the...
Actually, 11:30 around this. So we're coming up soon on that time.
Yeah, we'll start getting some notes, and just stay with us, Frosty. Hang out, and we'll keep you posted. Others in the chat do a great job of making sure people know, so it turns into a little you guys help each other out, and we'll try to help at the same time. And what that does at the same time is leads me to the next portion, where we're going to do a little fantasy flex for new listeners. We're going to try to look, or we're going to look at a couple different positions and a couple different players who may or may not be in your flex options, and break down why Jorge and I would choose who it is we choose. Fantasy flex time. But right before we start that, Scampers, you know what? Hey, sometimes you got to race, as they say, and picked up.
Were you just referencing the Chappelle skit with his friend Chip?
Yeah. Yes, I was.
Oh,
yes, I was. Sometimes you got to race.
Yeah. I'm sorry, officer. I didn't know I couldn't.
I did not know you couldn't do that. Didn't know you couldn't do that. It's like,
well, now
you're on Fifth Street. Move it.
That was good, wasn't it? That was good, because I did know you couldn't do that.
Chappelle Show, fantastic. It is.
That was great. I think that was one of his stand-ups. It was.
Hold on, quit flying through these. We didn't even answer any of them.
Right. So
Infinite
yeah.
Pilot Pro wants to know Quinshon Judkins for Breece Hall. I think we know the answer, because you and I both agreed we would even start Quinshon Judkins over Saquon Barkley in a pinch. So yes, over Breece Hall. Love Breece Hall.
No, he said for Hall. So like a trade. Would you trade?
Oh, well,
no, I would not do that. Stay away from.
No, I probably wouldn't either.
Let's see here. Do we see Jordan Mason as being serviceable still from Frosty? The coming matchups look good. Split backfield. Aaron Jones is back here.
I don't love it.
I don't like it either. No.
Is he flex worthy going forward? A lot of that is also going to come down to the quarterback position. We saw Carson Wentz get banged up. We know that JJ McCarthy is returning. I don't know if that's a positive for that offense necessarily or not. I have my concerns about the offense as a whole, and if the defense can, stay in games, then yeah, we can see both Mason and Aaron Jones. But I think you're right, Jorge. I think it's an Aaron Jones offense. Probably as early as next week, maybe another week when they ease them in, maybe a little slowly, but the matchups are good. We'll monitor that going forward too, and we'll hopefully keep you posted. Keep coming back every Sunday, and we'll learn together. We'll all figure this out and see just how wrong or how right we actually are. But wrong or right, quarterback position has been tricky this week, notwithstanding. There's a lot of flex options out there for maybe the Lamar Jackson owner, any of the bye week replacements, any of the questionable Michael Penix, Bryce Young. You're not starting any of them, but there's super flex leagues as well. So 3 of the guys who I've seen the most often available in waiver wires is Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and Justin Fields, primarily for this week. Justin Fields might or might not be available, but I've seen plenty of people drop him because they're sick of it. Of those, though, so we know Aaron Rodgers, the revenge game narrative, if you will, against Green Bay. Justin Fields in a great matchup against the Bengals. And then Kirk Cousins, who we've talked about, may or may not have Drake London. There's a lot of, the what-if scenarios against the Miami Dolphins. Jorge, if you're picking one up and you're starting this week, which one would you make the waiver claim for, or just put into your lineup?
So here's, at first this was a slam dunk for me, but when you look at fantasy points allowed, the Dolphins for quarterbacks, for running backs, for wide receivers and tight ends, all are within the top 8 in terms of fantasy points allowed to each of those positions. Mm-hmm. So is this a situation where this could be a surprising Jorge sneaker shootout of a game? I don't know if that's actually true, or if that's the case or not. I haven't looked at the money lines, but let's pretend that it is. The over-under lines, rather. Cousins. Oh, that wasn't as hard to say as I thought. Never mind. So let me back up. It would be Fields with the rushing upside versus Cincinnati, and then Cousins, and then Aaron Rodgers for me.
So it's not Cousins. So it's Fields.
Fields 1, Cousins 2. But I feel there's a bigger gap between Cousins and Rodgers. I like I said, the Rodgers game, I get it. You could throw the revenge game narrative all you want. This is a situation where good game, important throws, big, opportunities here. But as far as for fantasy consistency, no. This matchup between Miami and Atlanta could be something that a lot of people aren't anticipating. But Fields, as far as the rushing upside, and again, the Cincinnati defense not being one that a lot of fantasy managers seem to worry about as far as being able to shut down a mobile quarterback. So it'd be Fields, and then Cousins, and then Rodgers.
Well, and that's the crazy part, is I was thinking the exact same thing. And yet when you look at it, the Bengals defense against the quarterback position have struggled immensely against passing quarterbacks. They have allowed, almost 1,900 yards through the air, 8 touchdowns, and only 51 yards on the ground to running quarterbacks. Now, is that a product of them not playing anybody yet? Of course it is. Of course it could be. It makes me want to go in a more positive route for Fields, is that maybe Cincinnati not only will allow him, because I don't think it matters how good the defense is against rushing quarterbacks if it's Justin Fields and he has the ability to scramble and get free. I think maybe there's an added bonus in that quite possibly, he actually could use his arm, as inconsistent and scary as it may be. Maybe there's an added element of floor by him being able to spread the ball around. To who? I don't know. I'm not quite sure, because as Scamper said, why not? And that's Josh Reynolds is now gone. Mason Taylor's probably the recipient, but I'm taking the legs of Fields and then Cousins and Aaron Rodgers. We're in lockstep with that.
Nice.
Where we might not be in lockstep is at the running back position, because this is the as the kids say, this is ick, right?
Yeah.
And
it's 6'7", I think is what they're saying.
Yeah, I think 6'7's good though, right? In that,
I thought 6'7" was the new mid, which was average. I could be wrong.
These three aren't even average. This is they all have a little bit of okay, and we'll discuss each of the potentials. Before that, though, real quick, Frosty, it's been bad because, as he said, he drafted Travion Henderson as his RB2. Yeah, the LOL's right at the end. Yeah, sometimes have to laugh through scenarios that you weren't wrong, I don't think. I mean, the process was still correct that Travion Henderson's upside in that offense, if you believed in it, it was there. But it is what it is. Before we get into this running back question, Bedbugs has one for you, Jorge. Good morning.
So morning, guys. We thinking Debo or Pickens in full PPR? I'm starting Lamb too. Man, we've had a number of situations in this morning pregame show as far as, starting multiple options on the same team and how we like to diversify versus like, no, I'm okay with either. The question here has always been versus this Denver secondary is like, who's Patrick Surtain going to be shutting down this week? And CD's playing. So he's going to be the guy covering CD Lamb. Pickens, I'm not worried about. The slot wide receiver for the Cowboys. So it's like Ferguson, for example, the tight end who would be going over the middle and having the crossing routes. He's somebody, whether it's Jake Coleman McMillan or Jade Barron, I would fade Ferguson over Pickens. And Pickens we've seen just be a downfield target for Dak Prescott. So I would be okay with Pickens and Lamb starting two wide receivers here.
Yeah, I would too. And I think it might be Pickens that's actually more hurt by Surtain than even CeeDee Lamb. As much as I know that you should put Surtain on Lamb, I don't know if they do their best to try to move Lamb away as much as possible if it won't be complete shadowing. But I still like Pickens and Lamb more than Debo with Mariota against the Chiefs. Personally, I think that's just the way. So we're again in lockstep. We're agreeing a lot. It's either really good or really bad.
Well, we started the show where it's like we had three of us on air at the time, and it's like, okay, three different answers. Fantastic. We helped absolutely nobody. So
yep.
At least we're finishing strong as we're getting through the Fantasy and Frame Sunday pregame show.
But, though, at the end of the day, I think many will agree. I think as a whole, if there's one person asking the question and 848 listeners, the 848 would be in agreement that they would rather have the honesty and the truth more so than me saying, oh, no, yeah, I can't stand, Chuba Hubbard in this matchup, but because I don't want to go against the grain, I'm going to concede. So then it just comes down to whose reasoning is more sound. But that takes us into a rabbit hole of, I don't have an hour to break down every single question of tell you why. And you do a great job of adding IDP and defensive, analytics to it. So it's Bedbugs in the chat says that's what he was leaning. I feel like it's more of a safe floor than Debo. I think so too. I do. I think that that offense in Dallas is just been so good. And I think that Pickens and Dak had that established even more so without CD. And when we saw CD come back last week, Pickens was still fine. He was, they both could eat being there. But yeah. Bob Hope, welcome back. I see you in the chat. It's nice to see you again. He wants to know Kyle Pitts or Dalton Schultz full point PPR. This is harder for me, Jorge. I don't know if it is for you. I'll let you answer, and then I'll give you my take.
Yeah. So we saw the rapport of Penix and Pitts, but Penix, he could be has he been officially declared out, or he was just severely trending in that direction?
Severely trending game time.
Yeah.
Decision.
So we did not see the chemistry with Pitts and Cousins last year, and then like I was alluding to this morning, not even alluding to, just flat out stating, Cousins and Mooney has been the connection there for that offense, especially if Drake London is out. So and we were talking about also this morning that with the porous offensive line that the Texans have, Jalen Noel and Dalton Schultz are in for big matchups this week, given the fact that they are the quick release options in that offense.
Yep, I'm right there with you. So thank you, Bedbugs. Thank you for being there. Frosty, the biggest question of the day. All right, let me prepare for this. I know you've been dying for this.
Everybody. I mean, come on.
I have not been. I struggle with my kicker rankings and availability. I'm going to do this. I'm going to click on this button here. Number one, see who Brandon McManus is. I'm just kidding. I know
he is a kicker for the Green Bay Packers.
He is.
I know.
Did
you know he was a Green Bay Packer? Because that was a But I digress.
I probably was going to go
still
with
questionable.
Denver. No, yeah, he did return to practice on Thursday, so that's a plus. What is the weather looking like? So number one, it's in Pittsburgh, Sunday night. If you're thinking of starting McManus, I would say, you know what? Don't just skip that. Don't wait till Sunday night. Go and pick up someone like Parker Romo for Atlanta. You know what? In the dome. It's at noon. It's against Miami. As you said, Miami struggled against all facets of the offense. They should move the ball, even if it's all, extra points. I would do that rather than scramble and try to find someone else. Yeah. And that's what people come here for. The kicker injury updates. There's a niche out there for it somewhere for sure.
You know what? And since we already cover, niche areas like IDP, I should probably look into getting us a dedicated kicker person, because I feel like every week we always get a kicker question. That is a kicker in and of itself. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you.
All right, Moggs. Malik Washington, Jorge, Jalen Coker, or Jatavian Sanders, must-win game. It's a half-point PPR. I mean,
I am such a huge fan of Malik Washington. I just wish that the Dolphins coaching staff was a huge fan of Malik Washington.
Nice.
So until I see that change, I want to go. And then again, Jalen Coker, we're all basing our analysis on Jalen Coker, what he did last year, right? Last week, obviously, his first game back, we didn't see anything that we were hoping to see. But the game script should be favoring the wide receivers here in the second half for the Carolina Panthers. So I would go Coker.
I would as well. They all have their warts, because I mean, heck, you were questioning Jalen Waddle if Tua's not playing. If you're questioning Waddle, obviously Malik Washington has to be in question as well. But yeah, I think Jalen Coker, Moggs, it's not a must. No such thing as a must-win game. I mean, there's other weeks. You stay positive.
We got time.
You'll be fine.
You got time.
Yeah. You got a good couple weeks left at least, if anything. But man, another kicker question. Should I play Harrison Butker? That's true. We scored touchdowns and extra points. And Harrison Butker is oddly really, really good and really, really bad at the fantasy side of kicking, because the 35-yard field goals, scary proposition, terrifying every time. Extra points, scary, because even though he doesn't, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's hyperinflated for me because I see it every game and I watch when he misses. It's extrapolated in terms of how do you miss it, and I have to listen to my wife Carrie and her family all have, like, he has one job, and I try to defend the kicker. I was like, I know it's one job, but it's a hard job. It's not easy kicking. 56-yarder, and they miss it. And I'm like, okay, let's calm down. You've watched me try to kick a field goal at SoFi, and I didn't make it. So
Did I release? So she sent me the video of that.
You are not releasing the video.
I remember saying, "Can you make a reel?" Or I told her I was going to make a reel and post that on the Fantasy and Frames account.
Please don't. It was
epically awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. So I would start Butker over McManus if that's the option there. But yeah, Boggs, I low-key trust Andy Dalton for this week and 1 week only. Which of these running backs, Jorge, do you trust this week? Maybe in this week only, because we don't care about next week. Isaiah Pacheco, Kansas City against your Washington Commanders. Jacory Krosky-Merritt, Bill, if you will, against my Kansas City Chiefs. Or Rico Dowdle, who we've talked about, obviously, ad nauseum, but rightfully so. He's in that mix. So, I mean, you have all three. You have to start one. Who's giving you the safest floor? Let's start there.
Man, I mean, that's an interesting question in and of itself, because if we're talking about, a floor, well, now we have to ask ourselves, like, how high is said floor? If we're thinking using half PPR scoring, for example, if we're talking about a floor that is, 9, 8, 9, 10 points around that area, I think you'd have to go Pacheco. That being the case, we look at the Buffalo Bills, and yes, they're giving up the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth most rushing yards on the season. In terms of yards per carry, 5.8, that's number one to opposing running backs. And so, yes, there is the issue of Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, the splitting of attempts. We're going to get see more of that. But I think what you're getting, the efficiency that you would get for Dowdle, even if you are splitting attempts, favors him more against Buffalo than I would say Pacheco or Bill Krosky-Merritt in this situation.
The Pacheco one. Hey, Epic Fail. Morning, buddy.
3P, 1C fail. Yep.
3P. Yep. 3-piece. It's tricky because I watch. We see Pacheco with such important runs, and that's hard to quantify on the stat sheet when you only see 15 of them, to know that 5 of those runs were huge, important runs where he didn't have to move the chains. That's the Kareem Hunt super huge runs. It's the 6 yards on first down that they had gotten here and there that makes me think that maybe he'll earn a larger role. But I still know the role is capped by Kareem Hunt's value at the goal line, despite what I said earlier with Dave about his red zone usage. So I'm going to go with you there too. I am in Rico Dowdle camp when it comes to choosing of those 3. The wide receiver position. This is a little game we're going to play of the kind of would you rathers to break down where you and I are on certain wide receivers within that flex range. And I want to start, and I want to put it at around the wide receiver 28 for ECR consensus, which was,
got it,
until it changes, Deebo Samuel. And
Deebo, is this half PPR you said?
This is half PPR. Yeah.
Okay.
And so where that general range, and you can move up and down. We've had Deebo in the questions, the would you rathers. Would you rather have Deebo at the Kansas City Chiefs or say Matthew Golden? Obviously the emergence, that's a terrible word to use, but the reintroduction of Christian Watson into the offense, Matthew Golden having the hip injury that has limited him all week. We saw him, get, I want to say, more involved and then less involved. It's kind of one of those weird up and downs where it's like, we see nothing to start the season. Then it's like, okay, he gets 4 targets, then 6 targets, and then back down to 5 and 4. But he sprinkled in just an upside of receiving yards from 52 to 58, back and then up to 86, and then back down to 37. What's your take? I mean, that's
So he had back-to-back games of like 50-yard receptions. I think the second one came against Dallas. And without looking up the target volume there, with what you were just bringing up, there's a lot of inconsistency at targets. Christian Watson's coming back. Romeo Doubs is kind of, in Watson's absence, kind of taken over as that, target hog, if you want to call it that, for the Green Bay Packers. There's somebody that's going to be the odd man out. And I tend to favor veterans in this situation versus year one wide receivers, even if he is a first round NFL pick. So I would see Watson being more impactful than Golden. But as far as Debo versus Golden, the Cliff Kingsbury, if God help us Commanders fans out there, that this game is somewhat competitive, it's because they're going to manufacture so many touches to all their playmakers. And number one, if Debo's ready to go, then you better believe he's going to get a lot of the touches, whether it's the rushing upside or the receiving upside. He is going to get the ball. So I would rather have Debo Samuel in this situation.
Let's go a little bit further down. Someone that I have higher up. Let's have that same conversation. We've talked about him earlier. Tez Johnson.
Yeah.
Tez Johnson. Obviously, we've seen his, the targets last week was a big boom. The big play is probably needed, but we've seen the acrobatic big plays as an option. Are you leaning big play Tez over kind of safe, reliable, designed Debo?
I would go still Debo in this situation. Again, manufactured touches. Marcus Mariota, they're not going to be putting the ball necessarily in Mariota's hands to go marching down the field and be that general who's marching the ball down the field. Like, no, they're going to get the ball in all their playmakers as quickly as possible. That's where I would go with that. Why would you go Tez Johnson into this situation?
Probably not. Probably still go Debo, but it intrigues me. I'm hand picking some.
No, well, so I have one. If you don't mind. So
no,
we'll stick with Tez Johnson as one of them.
Okay.
So on Fourth and Frames, which you're on with Drew Scott and Rhett Manuel and Kyle Ziegler, Kyle brought up a very interesting one that people were, especially Rhett was like, so you're really going with Van Jefferson here. What's going on? And so Kyle made the caveat that if Calvin Ridley's out, is it the craziest thing in the world to start Van Jefferson? We're looking at fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position. The Colts are number one. So would you rather start a really, really good matchup for a wide receiver in Van Jefferson or stick with Tez Johnson, not knowing that even though he had a great game last week, if that's going to be the norm based on the limited sample size we have here?
I'd probably, if I'm picking a Titans wide receiver, it's Io Manners who I would want to probably most likely go after. I just don't trust the Tennessee. I don't trust the Tennessee offense at all. I don't. I really wanted to. Going into the season, I hated that I was so high on both Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard. Both were like my kind of not flag plants, but guys that I have I'm overweight on, or is that what it is? Overweight on? Is that the right phrasing? I don't think that's right. There's over something.
Yeah.
Confident. People say no. There's I'm definitely overconfident. That was not a mistake. I was way too overconfident on those two both being relevant and weekly flex starters or RB, high end RB2 even for Tony Pollard. I thought I was wrong. It is what it is. But there's Go ahead. You have another one?
Yeah, I do. So sticking with wide receivers who have started to emerge, Tez Johnson or Jalen Noel this week?
That is a really good one. And I actually have to make that decision in one of the leagues in the Kings Classic. And I'm leaning Tez right now.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, Jalen Noel just keeps like going towards me. I think that I have so much hype in Tez because I did, like I said earlier, I've heard the hype about him, and I kind of bought in and was waiting for the breakout to happen or the opportunity to happen. Let that be clear. I was not waiting on Chris Godwin and Mike Evans to both get hurt. It was not the plan, is to wait around for that to happen. That's a terrible process, and I would never go that far.
Right.
But since it did happen, it made sense, and I'll hitch my wagon to Baker more so than CJ Stroud in that offensive line.
So Jonathan put out a good article this past week of fantasy football trends for week 8 and beyond over at Fantasy and Frames. And he was talking about, since coming off the bye, Jalen Noel has commanded 15% of the targets, per Mike Florio from over at NFL. 49ers top 3 in yards and touchdowns allowed to slot wide receivers. He played Noel, that is 74% of snaps that came from the wide receiver position, 7 snaps. And then a lack of being able to apply pressure even against this bad offensive line. I'm going to go Noel. I'm going to go Noel. Tez Johnson, there's still the concern of targets going to Sterling Shepard's way, or Kate Otten coming in there and suctioning, or is that the right word? Suctioning, or taking targets away, whatever. Siphoning. There we go. I knew. Yeah, thank you.
I helped you. You didn't help me for shit earlier.
I'll make it up to you somehow. I will. Whereas, there's no Nico Collins, there's no Christian Kirk. Dalton Schultz is your only competition for targets, which I still think Schultz is going to have a good game for fantasy tight ends, especially those who play in tight end premium. So give me Noel in this situation.
Gotcha. Mando Montana has a question with kind of goes perfect in step with what we're doing right now. No Lamar. And good morning, first and foremost. The best option at quarterback right now is Marcus Mariota, Aaron Rodgers, Mac Jones, and Andy Dalton. Let's rank them, or you tell me who your one is. I'll tell you. You know what? I'll tell you who mine is. I'm going to go Marcus Mariota. I know the Chiefs are tough, but he's had 2 starts this year. He's been a top 20 option in both, as high as a QB6, averaging over 25 yards rushing per game in those, matchups. Has a rushing touchdown. The dropbacks and the passing quality might not be what you want, but I trust the legs to at least give you a safe fantasy floor more so than I trust any of the other options, despite the fact that Andy Dalton might be my number 2 option in that whole scenario, which is disgusting. Oh, yeah. Jorge?
Drake London. I'm sorry.
Boom shakalaka.
There you go. Thank you.
Apparently, according to Epic Fail right now, got to figure out. Just came across the Sleeper app. Epic Fail, you'll get the credit though. Drake London is out. Moggs in the chat goes on to say Jalen Noel is Dell 2.0. Is that an insult or is that
I don't know. I was going to think the same thing. I was like, "Ow."
Is that a good thing? Yeah. So, I digress there.
So that
was
your quarterback option. Yeah,
right. So I agree with you with Mariota. I also agree with you with Dalton, which I need to get the steel wool and start scrubbing. And then Rodgers and then Jones, Mac Jones.
There you go. Yep, that is the steel wool scrub for sure. I have one other scenario, and I guess I want to get your input. And these are all gross options, but potential is Troy Franklin against Dallas. Fun fact of Troy Franklin, he has 11 red zone targets.
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, that's crazy. Alec Pierce against Tennessee. Again, I said earlier the matchup I like of Alec Pierce against Tennessee. Or the third one, I want to go to Xavier Worthy, someone who I really like. But the Rashee Rice involvement in the offense, I know people are questioning what his, Is he strictly is it a gadget play? Does he have as much designed, first reads? I'm hearing rumblings from people about Worthy. It's the only reason I put him into that mix, because I think it's easy for me at Xavier Worthy. But I was wondering if you had the same, same thought process.
I'm sorry. Who was the first option besides Xavier Worthy?
Troy Franklin and his 11 red zone targets, and then Alec Pierce in a good matchup against a L'Jarius Needless Tennessee secondary.
Right. I would second you with Worthy, but then I would go Franklin, then Pierce.
All right. That's All right.
Well, let's get on Andy Behrens. Andy, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm jumping on just as we learn that Drake London inactive today. That's cool. That's cool. It's whatever. I got a lot of great players on the bench that I can just slide in.
Yeah.
It's totally not a nightmarish bye week or anything like that. So hey, it's fine.
Well, you probably picked a good week to at least join the conversation with some of the names that we have listed in like a would you rather scenario. And one of those is who should maybe be the recipient of an increased workload with who at quarterback. Is it going to be Michael Penix? Is it going to be Kirk Cousins? That name is Darnell Mooney. Is Darnell Mooney someone that you're comfortable throwing into your line if you've had him? I mean, that's assuming you would have both Mooney and Drake London.
I mean, I'm doing it. It doesn't mean I'm comfortable doing it. And I'm not here to give you a pep talk about Darnell Mooney. And I'm sure that if Atlanta, things go the way that Atlanta hopes they will go, and they probably will. It's Miami. It's a very user-friendly defense. They're just going to run the ball 40 times. That's what I would do if my team had to start Kirk Cousins and a rogues gallery of receivers, right? But yeah, I'm gonna have Darnell Mooney at like wide receiver 35 or some nonsense like that. It's terrible.
It really is.
Yeah, but that's the week we're in. That's the landscape. And if that sounds wrong to people, I would invite anyone to go try to rank the wide receivers right now and see if you don't get some sketchy players in the 30s. It's it's a tough landscape right now. But no, I'm not comfortable with Mooney, and yet I am starting Mooney.
If this is any sense of we're both in trouble, I actually have, looking at my rankings right now, I have Darnell Mooney at 34.
Same.
And oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, we're all in trouble.
I was just looking right there. I'm like, come on.
No.
Damn it. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Like, I'm still somewhat, man, I hate to use the word optimistic because I feel that's very strong in this situation. But again, going back to last year with Kirk Cousins, I mean, 7 out of 13 games, double-digit fantasy points in half PPR, let alone PPR for Mooney. With no Drake London, and then we've seen a connection recently with Penix and Pitts. We did not see one consistently with Kirk Cousins last year, so I feel like that even is providing more upside for Mooney. It's hard for me to move him up past the mid 30s there.
I mean, I guess the problem is like Kirk Cousins over the last year is just sort of sight unseen for the rest.
Yeah.
of
Sure,
us, right?
yeah, right.
Atlanta knows what they have, but it's hard to just like cite Kirk Cousins' data from last year and not recognize the fact that in the final 3 games of his he played his way out of that job and he did not look like an NFL quarterback anymore. And if he's still that guy, it's really bad.
Yeah.
And and on the flip side, the same thing can be said in Carolina. You have Andy Dalton potentially coming in, who didn't necessarily work his way out of it. He just didn't do enough while Bryce Young, well, I guess it was injury too, but Bryce Young really took that role and ran with it. And I don't know, outside of, Tet McMillan, we've said Jalen Coker's name a lot this week. And in his second week, do you think Jalen Coker's one of those names that we're going to see sprinkled into lineups, not comfortably, but could you see it happen and ultimately go, eh?
Yeah, I've seen his name in a lot of questions, and I get it. I've seen a lot of like Leggett or Coker questions, and I think off of last week, like that was a really good Xavier Leggett game.
Very good.
And I think I'd probably lean that direction just because he's done it, and I don't have a health concern in any way. But I think Coker's a really interesting player, and of course he complements the rest of these guys really well. Like you can kind of see it with that trio, right? With McMillan, with Leggett, Coker, how they actually can function simultaneously on the field together. So I like it. Yeah, I don't have Coker in the lofty range that I've put Darnell Mooney.
Right, exactly.
But I do have him in that. It's just an ocean of players at wide receiver now. Given the, we don't have to talk about the state of modern football exactly, but the number of times that teams have 3 wide receivers on the field and the distribution of targets is so different now, and everybody between wide receiver 21 and wide receiver 60 is like the same guy. So I've got Coker in that very wide range. Yeah,
I do as well. And I have a couple questions for you that from the chat. Before we get to that, Jorge, I want to ask one that you can't see because we were questioning what this is. And Mog's friend of the show, of course, put in the chat that Jalen Noel is Tank Dell 2.0. Is that a compliment or is it not? And we didn't really know exactly. So we got the answer. He said it's a compliment. I'm happy, and I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
We'll go to Epic Fail's question now. And he is in a half-point PPR. David Njoku, who is active, or Evan Ingram, Dalton Schultz.
From this trio, I'll answer this in a couple different ways. I have the greatest confidence that Dalton Schultz will catch 6 balls. Like, I think Dalton Schultz can catch 6 balls today and give you like 55 yards or 70 yards or something like that, and like it's fine. I think Dalton Schultz can get you to 8 or 9 fantasy points. I think the range of outcomes is wider for the other two. I'm not super excited to tie myself to Dylan Gabriel at this time, so I'm probably a little bit more interested in Ingram given the quality of the matchup. But Ingram could get you like 1 fantasy point or 2 fantasy points, or it's Dallas and they could be chucking it, and they could have to, obviously Denver is a great defense, but Dallas is going to put up some numbers against anybody, so they could be chucking it again, and it could be a really good Ingram day. So I guess my answer here is that I am very confident that Dalton Schultz can get us between 7 and 9 fantasy points, and I think Ingram is probably the guy. Like, if you think you're an underdog and man, you need somebody to have an unexpected sizable week, I think that's probably Ingram.
Yeah, I feel like that's been kind of that high. Like, who's more capable of having the 5 for 77 or even hell at this point in the tight end landscape? You give me 4 for 55, and that's a top 10 finish for the most part. And who's less likely? And that was the crazy thing with Denver last week. Also, like you said, there, Dallas can score against them, or potentially. I get the feeling I can either be completely wrong, because last week I was out on the Giants against Denver, and they proved me wrong. So I go in thinking it's Dallas. Dak and companies should come in and be able to keep that momentum going. And I could see a scenario where Denver absolutely shuts them down, and I'm so, wrong and hurt because I have a ton of George Pickens, I have a ton of Dak, and I'm rooting. But there's another quarterback question. We talked about Dak earlier, but Justin Fields has made his way into this conversation. Congratulations, Justin Fields. With Caleb Williams, I feel like he waited on this question just for Andy to get here for the Bears. Or Jordan Love in the best co-actor role in the revenge game of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Fun question. I get it with Justin Fields, friendly matchup, but man, no Garrett Wilson, and okay, he'll probably run for 80 yards. there's just nothing left in the cupboard there, and I'm sure they would love to feed Breece Hall as much as they can. They just don't have playmakers, and it would, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and if Justin Fields gets there on the ground, I apologize, but I don't think I would do it. I think the ceiling for that offense is just way too low right now. I would actually. I'd probably go Caleb here, and I'm obviously I'm a Bears homer, but I'm actually, I think, a little bit more critical of my favorite team than I would be otherwise. I think he's played pretty well. Not perfectly, and he still has some flaws that need to get ironed out, but he's actually, he's not getting sacked the way he was last year. Like a lot of the things that everybody was firing on him for last year, fairly. He's gone. I'm not gonna say he's eliminated them from his game because he can still get sped up and do some weird things. But he is getting rid of the football a little bit better than he was before. And the matchup this week is pretty friendly against Baltimore. I love, by the way, that Baltimore has just conceded this week, holding Lamar out, knowing that they're facing the hottest team in football.
Yeah,
Right.
it's probably not a stupid move considering 9/10 of the rest of their team is already hurt and out. I do hate it for my Derrick Henry need this week and going forward, but maybe we'll get something out of him. Next question, Jorge.
You got it.
So, guys, he just lost Drake London. Well, full point PPR. The only bench options he has: Alec Pierce, talked about earlier. I like that matchup a lot. Luther Burden, who is, as you know, Andy, can be up and down week to week. And Jaden Higgins, who is not Tank Dell 2.0, but he is now the, one of only two clear, maybe three options for the Houston Texans. Thoughts? Who you start?
I mean, Higgins has been kind of a dog. Like I feel like it hasn't gotten much attention because a lot of aspects of that offense are broken. But man, Higgins just hasn't done a thing. He's had a couple of balls ripped away from him. He has not impressed me. I will say that. I'd probably go Alec Pierce here. I get the temptation with Burden. We gotta see a game where Burden actually plays like 35 snaps, 40 snaps. I mean, everybody wants to be like ahead of it, and they want to start him in the week that he finally. It's probably coming because Olamide Zaccheaus hasn't been great, but the Bears are still plenty committed to Olamide Zaccheaus, and he is the guy who occupies the role that everybody wants Burden to fill. I got to see the game where he really sees the field first. I know he had the one big fantasy day that was largely off that flea flicker, but we got to see a game where he really plays.
Yeah, I'm still leaning Noel over Higgins. I would probably say
I agree.
Noel,
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I didn't really get to talk about Noel earlier, but I think that guy's really good, and I think it was meaningful that they were peppering him with targets late last week. I think that meant a lot. He's a natural fit for the Christian Kirk role, and he's a dog in the good way, right?
Right, exactly.
That guy's an athlete, like 40 time vertical, all of it. Like he was great at the combine. The other thing I loved about Noel is that he could have tapped out of the bowl game. He didn't need to go to he went to the Senior Bowl, every showcase that you gave him, he went to. That guy was just up for competition at all times. So I like him a lot.
If you weren't a fan of Jalen Noel before, you are now. After the words of Andy Behrens, Jalen Noel, prove us wrong. Or right, prove us right, not wrong. Sorry. Jorge, he could also scoop a tight end in his flex. Mason Taylor, Dalton Schultz, Noah Fant. What do you are you leaning any of those in the flex spot over? I don't know if it's over any of the ones before mentioned, or if that's if London was in his flex. I'm not quite sure exactly, but I guess would.
So let's just clump all the players in one pool and saying that these are options for flex. For me, it's Alec Pierce. Now, if this is a situation where we're misreading it and he has to pick one tight end here, I would go Schultz just because of the what you're getting situation. Whereas Justin Fields, you mean I have to rely on Justin Fields' arm? I don't know if I can do that, even though Mason Taylor is, going to be the primary beneficiary. No disrespect to Alan Lazard, but kind of disrespect to Alan Lazard. Is he even on the team still? I don't even know. The fact that he may not be on the team, whatever. So I would go Schultz in this situation if I had to play one of the tight ends.
Alan Lazard is definitely going to be one of those guys who, like, when he finally retires, everybody's like, "Oh man, I thought he retired 2 years ago."
That's exactly right. Sorry, Alan Lazard, but it is what it is. Epic Files a super flex question here. Snoop Huntley, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel.
Wow.
Yep.
Break out the steel wall and scrub off the.
Ward and Gabriel are like my QB 25 and 26 this week in a week with only 26 starting quarterbacks. So I mean it's going to be Huntley for me. The Bears defense missing a bunch of guys. Bears defense hasn't been good for most of the season. They're getting takeaways, but they are giving up a lot of yards. And I mean, Huntley's not going to lead a healthy passing attack necessarily, but you probably get 50 rushing yards out of him. You might get 160 passing yards, good shot at a touchdown or two. So I'd go Huntley there.
Yeah, it definitely makes it easier when you follow Huntley with Ward and Dylan Gabriel. And watch us be wrong. I hope we're wrong for.
I don't mean that as an endorsement of Tyler Huntley, by the way. It wasn't like, oh wow, Andy's bullish on Tyler. No, he's not. But your other two options were Ward and Gabriel.
Flip that, Jorge. We're going to make sure the world knows that.
Yeah.
Snoop Huntley's number one.
We'll have like captions for like a TikTok where we'll just flip the wording around, even though he's saying the right thing. The wording for those who are just watching the captions, we'll say that. We got Eric in the chat. Says start one DK, T. Higgins, or Tet McMillan. Well, Andy, let me ask you: do you think that? And again, we don't. Obviously, this is a situation where we have to wait and see. But if you had to pick one nickname, is Andy Dalton? Do you think after this game will still be called the Red Rifle, or will he be the Red Ryder BB gun from A Christmas Story after it's all said and done? If you had to predict one,
yeah, that's more likely. BB gun is a lot more likely. I mean, I don't want to be dismissive of the Panthers though. Like this is an actual big game for the Panthers, and that team hasn't played a big game in a long time, right? Like I don't know, they got 4 wins. They have every reason to feel like they're a credible team. So, I mean, it's not a great situation. Pretty good for the run game, right? Like you'd feel okay about Rico Dowdle, you'd feel okay about Chuba, but yeah, this is Andy Dalton in not a must-win game certainly, but it's a huge litmus test game for a team that probably wants to convince its fan base that they're competitive, that they're pretty good, and hey, they're sitting there with 4 wins, good for them. But man, I would not want to trust Andy Dalton here. I would go DK Metcalf in this. By the way, Eric, thank you for a refreshing question that makes us feel just for a moment like this is a normal week, right? Like now we have some normal receivers to talk about, and we're not weighing Isaiah Bond against Jaden Higgins or some nonsense like that.
Nice.
I'd go Metcalf here. It's really close with Higgins.
Yeah, I went flip-flop in my head with both those two, and you're right. It is refreshing. Luckily, we'll go from refreshing back to the garbage pile of quarterbacks that are left when you don't have Lamar, and that is the aforementioned Kirk Cousins, the aforementioned Justin Fields, CJ Stroud making an appearance for the first time in the Would You Rather conversation. Marcus Mariota comes back. Snoop Huntley does, and then Mac Jones. Holy moly, at least they have options. I've seen waivers where somehow, some way, even the likes of Stroud and Fields are not there, even if they are, bombs to sit on for your opponent.
Do you, this is the first question I've seen involving Fields where I'm like, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the group of players where I finally select Justin Fields. I don't want to officially say it, but I'm kind of willing to look the other way if you want to.
Okay.
Justin Fields, right? Like I feel okay about that.
Flash Justin Fields across the screen with Andy looking in the opposite direction. Yeah.
I mean, I also like Mariota. I don't love Mariota, and I think he's probably going to make a couple of head-scratching decisions, but he does get McLaurin back. He's got Debo. It's a tough defensive matchup, but man, these are all imperfect options. So I'd officially say Mariota, but again, I'm willing to look the other way and head nod while you start Justin Fields if that's a thing you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I might just keep Lamar in and just stick with just hope he somehow they change it midway and they change the rules for Lamar and he comes back. No, I'm with you too. It's Mariota, Fields. It just sucks because Cincinnati is such a good opportunity for Justin Fields, but we say the same thing. Cincinnati is a great option for teams to score on if you have anybody that's capable of doing anything outside of Justin Fields just running with the ball in his hands. And I don't trust. I mean, even Josh Reynolds was like a saving, like, hey, you know what? I'm starting Josh Reynolds in Kings Classic and I don't feel terrible about it. And then and now he's out. And it's like, I don't even want the next best option. Was that Arian Smith? Is that his name?
And
I don't even know who he is.
And Taylor's a little bit injured, probably going to play. It's just, it would make all the difference in the world if the Jets had Garrett Wilson, like a healthy Garrett Wilson right now, but they don't.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to do.
Very gross. So, Jorge, Aldo wants you to answer this for him.
Sure.
We're going to assume it's a must-win game because all of them are, right? Debo or Mooney with London out. It's a half-point PPR. He's tugging on your Commander heartstrings.
He is, and he's doing it correctly because I'm going to go Debo in the situation. The term on Monday night from Troy and Buck, the manufacturer touches, cannot be stressed enough during the broadcast because that's what they're going to have to do to stay in this game, or at least to put points on the board. I shouldn't say stay in this game, but to put points on the board. Debo's going to get a lot of manufacturer touches here in this situation, whether it's rushing the ball or being that receiving option. So give me Debo in this matchup.
Breaking news, Jorge. Moggs broke it for us. First to he's kind of the Adam Schefter of our waiver of our chat.
Boom shakalaka.
Jermaine Burton's out. Sorry.
Well, now that we
know.
Yeah.
I know.
I need a moment. Yeah.
We have the most astute chat in the game right now. Nick, good morning. Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall. See, now we're getting to some. I like these ones that I hate more than anything because I want garbage questions where, I mean, come on, nobody really knows if, like you said, Isaiah Bond or Arian Smith is going to actually catch a touchdown accidentally and put him ahead. But Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, both compelling cases, both, I would say, decent matchups and situations that have happened around them that could lead to their somehow more involved role in the offense. Andy?
Yeah, the only reason I would even hesitate on this one is that Breece Hall is dealing with kind of an ambiguous, it's a knee injury, right?
Sure.
He's going to play.
Sure.
Got a great matchup. It might be his final game as a Jet. So there's that, right? Like they could hold him back or limit him for those reasons. I'd play him here against Cincinnati though. It's close, but people know the sort of weird usage nightmare that they're signing up for with Kamara, and it's probably a more challenging matchup than the Bengals are for Hall.
Nick is in a uniquely opportunistic scenario here where at this time next week he could have two running backs that were on the New Orleans Saints and New York Jets and are now on the insert team. I won't speculate. Of course, one could be Kansas City. And then what's the other landing spot that we've heard the most for either or?
Well, the Chargers have been a landing spot, but man, they got a game from Vidal where they might reasonably say, okay, we don't have to pay a premium to get a luxury running back if we've got this guy who can deliver, I don't know, 90 or 95% of what we might have expected from our starter.
Jorge, is there another team? Can you think of another ideal, like fantasy beneficial more so than, I mean, I guess every landing spot's better than where those two are at right now. short of going to a committee, which I don't think a team would trade for either one of those to throw into a full committee role.
Man, that is a great question. Houston?
So I was going to say Houston, yeah, and
Okay.
and there are some spots that will like really tick off fantasy managers if a running back lands there. But if you're Houston, I mean, you're obviously you're thinking of yourself as a postseason contender, and you've probably written off Joe Mixon for the year. Yeah, Houston is definitely a destination.
Very good. That's perfect. All right, guys.
If I can ask Jorge, is Washington not a destination?
Man,
That would really tick off fantasy managers.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. There's a point coming within the next couple of weeks where we're going to decide, okay, is Washington in on making a push, or are they in a situation where injuries are going to dictate that they're not, right? And the real question is, if they are on the if they're not, then they're not making the trade. Obviously, they're not upgrading the position. If they are, well, Peters now has to. Adam Peters needs to decide. Okay, what am I giving up? Am I going all in on a 1-year rental to upgrade a position? Am I willing to give up the capital? And that is something that he has not been doing since he's been the general manager of the Commanders. He's been very shrewd and making great short-term deals and acquisitions, especially with the draft capital that he's been, adding into these deals. So I don't think so. I don't think we're at that point yet where the necessity dictates giving up the draft capital. I think he learned from the Lattimore debacle, which I think is safe to say it's a debacle from last year, that's just not something that they should be worried about this year.
Interesting. It feels like there was a ton of just can't wait for the person, either Breece Hall or Alvin Kamara, to leave. And now it seems like it's condensed down to if they don't go to Kansas City, and they both aren't going to go. And just as Pacheco, in my eyes, from what I've seen, he looks better as the season's progressed. Mm-hmm. He runs a little angrier, and maybe they're just because they're winning that helps makes him look like he's doing a better job. But Angie is, wow, this is 2 Queen's Classic questions today. So we're making an impact in the Queen's Classic, and we're going to upset some people or help some people. Angie needs to start a flex between Chigakonkwo, Colson Loveland. Or Andy, I'll start with you and see if there's a chance you don't take Colson Loveland in this.
I don't know where people find the courage to start all these Titans. I was seeing those questions in an AMA I was doing this morning too. Like people are really into, and I like Io Manor in real life. I like Chig in real life. This is a pretty broken passing game right now, and I just wouldn't attach myself to it. I think there's a very good chance. I actually think there's a better chance that we see. I could be burned by this, but I think there's a better chance that we see a Colson Loveland surge in the second half of the season than a Luther Burden surge. Because I'm pretty sure that Luther Burden requires an injury somewhere else in the receiving core, and I think the Bears just want to get something splashy out of Colson Loveland, and like we've seen them go back to week 1. They were targeting him fairly early in the game. They want him involved in the offense. He's had some injuries. That's been a bit of an issue, but now with Komet out of the way, I would probably go Loveland here.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Passing game is something I'm trying to very much so avoid there for Tennessee. So no, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Kendall's in the chat. I need to start to Kincaid, Otten, Downs. I would go Otten and Downs, personally speaking.
Yeah, do we know the status on Kincaid? Are we sure yet? Is he going?
I don't know.
Is he playing?
Let me pull it up here.
He practiced all week, so in a limited fashion. So that's a positive. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily, that clearly doesn't mean anything to anybody anymore when you're practicing limited. I mean, he's out there. And I mean, the fact that it's a noon game and there's been no reports probably tell me he's going to play.
All right.
But I don't know if I still think I would probably play it safe and lean Otten and Downs. Does his health change your feeling on him, Andy?
Yeah.
As far as
just the fact that Otten and Downs are Man, I have so many leagues where I would love to have Otten and Downs as my options. I have some of the worst flex situations I think I've ever had. So Otten and Downs being pretty bankable options makes this easier for me, and I would go with those two because again, we just don't know the health status on Kincaid. He could be active, but not as active as usual. Of course, you could also find the end zone in this one too. He's been really good when healthy lately.
That's exactly what will happen. We'll get burned by the touchdown. This is a trickier one, Jorge. As just talked about Isaiah Pacheco. It's the PPR does hurt a little bit because Khalil Shakir, despite all the other quote unquote targets, we said earlier, no Joshua Palmer. Hey, Joshua Palmer made our list of the walking wounded somehow on accident. I didn't think I meant to type it, but I think my fingers. I have so much Joshua Palmer from the draft, thinking he was going to be he could sneak his way into the Bills number one. It's not being great, guys. My apologies.
Shakir. All right, there's not any question where we're going with this one. Okay. We got Moggs in the chat again. Dubs, Coker, Tez Johnson, Romeo. Where art thou, Romeo? For me in the situation.
Yeah, that's Dobbs for me as well. Just a very, very high likelihood of a pretty high scoring game in that one. I mean, Tez Johnson been really fun. Like each of the last two games, he's made plays that I'm honestly not sure how many receivers can make. Like he's been really fun, but I mean, I feel better about the volume with Dobbs.
Alrighty, epic fail. In the chat, how would you rank Henry versus Chicago, Rashad White versus New Orleans, Dobbins versus Dallas? I really like Dobbins, to be honest with you, in this matchup here. I think Dallas is gonna, they haven't really been a team that stopped the run too effectively. So, anybody disagree?
It's really weird to veer away from Derrick Henry, but man, I don't know how you can not play Dobbins against Dallas. I mean, that's the friendliest possible matchup, and he's been great.
Yeah, it takes a second time around for me to, as I've been looking through my rankings. We had this question earlier where Dobbins he was in it. And I just now I've moved my rankings back and forth and I eventually now I have Dobbins like 2 spots ahead of Henry. And it's weird to see Derrick Henry into the teens when you're finalizing them.
Yeah.
IDP question. Finally, thank you. Epic fail. Jordan Battle, Kevin Byard, or Marcus Jones, no return yards, and the reason for that is cornerback fantasy points in some leagues. I would still go Marcus Jones here. He, in terms of tackle efficiency for a slot cornerback, is literally 2 percentage points lower than the average for linebackers, which is freaking ridiculous. So he has been on a tear. Slot corner is the most effective one out of all the other free safety matchups here. So give me Marcus Jones. And as far as Dennis or David, pass the Servassier. Give me Servassier Dennis in this situation. He has one of the best puntable names, I think, in the NFL, if not the best. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly. All right. With no London, I'd go Mooney. T-Mac or risk the biscuit with Brashard Smith here. Nate?
I can't risk. I love the Brashard Smith hype and upside and what could happen if given. It's just people are going to look last week, and we've said it ad nauseum, is that, don't worry about last week because it was all fourth quarter without Mahomes. It even went further than that. It was late into the third quarter even is when Mahomes really had gotten taken out. And even prior to that, it was just getting Brashard Smith touches on the field. And he looks extremely good. If you can consolidate and we can clip his touches to clipping Andy's love for Justin Fields and all the other players from today, it would be a who's who of Brashard Smith's, tape. That being said, there's still a pecking order and he's still third. And I'm going with McMillan. Then I would be Mooney and then Smith if you're looking for an order.
Yeah,
I don't know where people have come up with the idea that maybe Brashard Smith could become like a full workload featured runner for the Chiefs, which is just not like, that should not be your hope for Smith. I don't think he profiles that way. Like everybody should be locked in on the idea that he could be Jerick McKinnon and that he could get like a Damian Williams sized workload, which was never the full workload, right? But they're not going to start feeding Brashad Smith 25 touches. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Like get rid of that notion and like the player for what he maybe could be and not what you miss seeing in Kansas City.
Definitely no Sharkhandrick West comps here for Rashad Smith or Spencer Ware. You're welcome. Last two more questions before we get out of here. Just Bone with Jay, Kirk or Caleb? Caleb, right?
Come on. This is
It's trolling you now, I think.
And then the final one for today's show, RJ Harvey or Tajay Spears?
That one's a tricky one.
This is a great question that really speaks to the difficulty of managing in a week like this. And I would just want to attach myself to I don't even think RJ Harvey has looked particularly great, but I'd want to attach myself to that game and that offense.
Yeah.
That would be as well. We get out of here. I have one final question, Andy, since you're tied into the Bears more than most, and it's like a fantasy kind of evaluation from that running back room. The Kyle Monangai talks, and it's escalated into this, Sonic and Knuckles 2.0 from Ben Johnson's Detroit days. Is that a horrible comp? Is that a fair rest of season relationship in the backfield? Will Kyle Monangai continue to only just frustrate DeAndre Swift owners, or will he, favor his own managers?
I could be wrong about this, but I kind of think that last week was a little bit of a one-off, and it had more to do with the fact that they were just grinding New Orleans to dust on the ground, right? Like they had a big early lead, and they had the luxury of being able to give those two guys, however many combined carries it was, 30 plus carries, 200 rushing yards between them. I think Monangai is fine. I think he's perfectly fine, and I like him as a backup running back. He's a little small and a little slow, and you usually can't be both of those things in the NFL. So I don't know. There's a lot of hype around him because the usage was good, and everybody is ready to sort of broom away DeAndre Swift. Meanwhile, DeAndre Swift has made the biggest plays of the week for the Bears in consecutive games. So DeAndre Swift is playing really well, and DeAndre saw 20 touches last week. It's not that wasn't an for DeAndre Swift. He's a little bit injured right now, and he still saw 20 touches. So they're giving him all the work he can handle.
Yeah, I'm shocked with the DeAndre Swift hate, and I'm not like a DeAndre Swift supporter where I absolutely have gone out to try to get him, but in the rare landscape of seeing any running back in any scenario get 20 touches, for him to get it should just satiate many of our concerns or worries about him. But Jorge, do one more. Mike's in the chat.
Yep.
Kyle Pitts. What a fitting way to go out, right, Jorge?
So we mentioned it earlier in the show. When you look at fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, Miami is top 8 in points allowed to every single position. So I would go Pitts in this matchup here.
Andy, do you want to? You don't want a piece of.
I agree, and I don't want to be banging the table for Kyle Pitts because I have not really been a Kyle Pitts guy historically, but I would do it here. Once again, I am picking against the Titans. I just I don't need to go out of my way to start Titans. Thank you very much.
It's pretty nasty there, but it's been a wonderful morning. I think we've gotten a ton of gross, disgusting start sits that I hate. I can't stand. I love at the same time because I don't have to. I don't know. I really love in our Kings Classic leagues and leagues where you have 12, 14 teams. I like those decisions so much more than a 10 team trying to choose between, DeAndre Swift and J.K. Dobbins and this other person. You have to pick just one, and everybody's got their high upside and then their warts, and you're always wrong. No matter what, you very rarely can be perfect 100% of the time. So thank you all for the chats there. And Andy, you've been doing AMAs. You've been doing serious radio shows. I talked to Bob and them, and they had you on. Very disappointed as I texted you and told you we need to promote this. We're trying to get everybody there for the Taco Bell marathon.
Love it.
And it is, you should have seen the faces of, I think, Shannon and whoever else the producer is on the screen. When I talked to them, like they're both looking off screen like this, typing away. And I mentioned it and they went, what? And I was like,
I know it sounds terrible if you only know Taco Bell by reputation and you don't like live in it, but man, it's not the Taco Bell that you're thinking of from 20 years ago. Like you can eat okay at Taco Bell now. It's not gonna be that bad.
Nice. Of all the fantastic conversations and things we've discussed and learned over the years, getting to know each other, Andy, that by far still stands amongst near the top in terms of things that I'm some of the most intrigued. I was very intrigued to hear how your daughter did in her marathon. I was very intrigued to see how her move from here to there went, and you landing on not only on your feet, but excelling and everything after last year. This still is, it's pretty high up there, guys. Jorge,
I think about it all the time. I think about it constantly. Like I'm mapping out the training constantly. I got a whole year ahead of me of experimenting with food combinations too.
And did we say on air, or was this after we got off air last week, that you'll actually let one food option be decided from the Fantasy and Frames chat as we continue on as the season goes?
I am that confident in my Taco Bell consumption that
I
will allow that. Yeah.
Nice. Love it.
Well, we will leave everybody with that food for thought, if you will. And thank you so much. We will hopefully leave you all with nothing but fantastic wisdom, and good luck in your fantasy week 8. See you later.